we go. Now I can see. Oh, God, it's so cold. Oh. Right, let's boot up Zerem. I have water with me this time, so I can replenish my throat. This one. Right, let's... Hold on. I just need to move the ottoman back. Oops. Well, you can still because this is Alice's Warped Wonderland. Oh, that's coming off my desk. That's not good. Why are you doing that? Stay on the desk, please. Wait, can't this go further? Looks like this can actually go further. Why is it sticking out so much? Okay, that seems better. Let's tighten that. No. Gotta watch your supporting friends is important. It is, but don't feel obliged to stay, especially if the game does not interest you. Sorry, my mic was like hanging off the desk, so I've just tightened it and moved it back. Oh, no, it says Elgato. Turn that off. I need to change the game capture. Dun, dun, dun. I was gonna watch bad karaoke performances to laugh at something. Oh no. Well, this is like just it's basically like a visual novel. That's what I was trying to think of last time when I streamed it. Chapter 4, Midnight Tea Party. Oh, this is not creepy. Is it really here? Oh, that's a Cheshire Cat again. It's here, he answered, smiling without a care in the world. This is the park, isn't it? Yes, it is. The city was once again devoid of other people as the Cheshire Cat led me to the location of the tea party. From the confusing conversation I had with him on the way here, all I understood was that two people called the Hatter and the Dormouse were having a tea party here. What about the hare? I was imagining an elegant garden party, but I thought it'd be more like a fancy European garden, not a regular old park with swings and a sandbox. I've been led to a community park not far from my house. When I was young, I used to play here. Even if there are swings, you can still drink tea. Well, that's true. Do you hate swings, Alice? No, I like them. Do you hate sandboxes? No, I don't hate sandboxes either. The Cheshire Cat looked at me and tilted his head. Then what is the problem? I don't have a problem with anything. The Cheshire Cat smiled curiously. Oh, that's okay. It's true you can drink tea anywhere. There's no need for me to be overly critical. I stood in front of the car barricade, the park entrance, and looked ahead. Oh, that's what those are. At the end of the park, underneath the wisteria trees, was a table resembling a log sawed in half. There, I could see two silhouettes. One was moving incredibly sluggishly, while the other was bustling about rather excessively. Do you have a bone to pick? You've come so far, what? Only now are we pulling more like... Oh my god. I have no knowledge of or experience with tea parties, but I do know this. Those movements definitely did not come from drinking regular tea. In fact, one of them doesn't even seem like a person. Yeah, a dormouse. I closed my eyes and took a few breaths. What are you doing, Alice? I'm just getting myself ready. Alright, let's go. I head towards the table. A white tablecloth covered the log table. On top of it was a silver tray, a silver pot, and silver-coloured set of forks and knives. A white porcelain tea set was arranged on one side, while sandwiches, scones, and cookies decorated the rest of the table. Looks normal so far. In fact, I think it's prepped like a real tea party. Except for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 clocks. There are two things that made it strange. Oh my god. The first was the clocks. For some reason, the table was covered in so many clocks that they outnumbered the tea sets. The clocks that couldn't fit on the table were lined up at their feet. Oh, yeah, there's like some down here. I don't know much tea parties, but I don't think there's a rule that says there needs to be a bunch of clocks. Maybe, but there's also some below here. So there's like 25, 26, 27, 28. I mean, some do look like it's the asset was just duplicated, like the way that looks. Like here as well. And here. In there. And as for the second, it was messy. So unbelievably messy. Time is an illusion. Time is an illusion. There were crumbs everywhere, and the cups and plates were covered in cracks. Some forks and knives had fallen on the ground, while others were stabbed into the table. In the middle of the table, a small antique clock was sticking out of the chocolate cake like some kind of weird art piece. It seemed they were enjoying their tea rather unconventionally. I was somewhat impressed by the extravagantly chaotic scene unfolding before me. And suddenly a person who stood on a chair to pour tea screamed at me, "You're late, Alice!" The mouse was resting his chin on the table with his eyes shut, but he opened his eyes once he heard that voice. The mouse was about the size of a human infant. The man, I think, who screamed seemed younger than me, judging from his voice. Perhaps he was a middle schooler, but I wasn't really sure. Oh, look at him! He was wearing a giant silk hat that covered his entire head, so I couldn't see his face. Not just that silk hat, everything he was wearing was too big. He looked like a small child wearing adult clothing. I presume this boy in the hat is a hatter, and this giant mouse is the dormouse. Do you have any idea what time it is? The hatter yelled angrily. Huh? He looked at the clocks scattered across the table. The hands on their faces all pointed to 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock in the middle of the night? It can't possibly be 3 a.m., can it? I thought it was strange, but since the clock hands were pointed at the 3, I couldn't really argue. Is there 3 o'clock? Do you know how much time has passed since then? The hatter yelled as he tilted the teapot and tea began to overflow and spill from the cup. While I watched that happen, I answered, "Maybe 30 seconds, give or take?" "Wrong. It's been so long, I'm starting to feel faint." "But looking at these clocks, it looks like it just turned 3 o'clock." "Well, of course it just turned 3 o'clock. But it's been ages since it turned 3 o'clock." Huh? I don't really understand. It sounds like a riddle. "Oh, come home now, Alice." His eyes still shut, the dormouse clumsily held out a teapot. I started to worry as the teapot shook in his hand. "Come sit. Some tea." At that moment, the dormouse's chin hit the tabletop, gold. The teapot he was offering suddenly fell over in a dramatic display. Hot water flew everywhere, and the hatter jumped to his feet. I narrowly managed to avoid getting scolded. "Yeah, he's a eepy little baby." Only because the Cheshire cat grabbed me by the back of my collar to avoid the hot water. Though it did not choke me a bit. The guilty dormouse didn't get splashed at all and snored quietly on top of the table. "So, we're looking for the white rabbit. Do you know anything about where he is?" I asked the hatter while coughing. "Yeah, the rabbit came here," the hatter replied, bored as he shifted in his seat. He tried to pick up the teacup that was filled to the brim, but it was all for naught as the tea came spilling over the edge. "Really? When?" I leaned forward. "Just now. Quite a while ago." The hatter and the dormouse replied in unison. "Which is it?" "Just before it became 3 o'clock." My god. The Hatter seemed to have given up on picking up the teacup. He left it on the table and lapped sips from the cup like a dog. So it just turned 3 o'clock, but it has been quite some time since it turned 3 o'clock. So if the white rabbit came here just before it turned 3 o'clock, that means he was just here, but quite some time ago. This is confusing. And then, do you know which way he went? That way. As he pointed, the dormouse nodded off. His small front limbs flopped onto the table with a thump. The Hatter grabbed his limbs and used them to point off to the side. I looked where he pointed and saw a beautiful gate covered in roses. Are we going to meet the Queen? I've been really interested what the Red Queen's going to look like. It was the gate to the rose garden inside the park. The arch at the entrance was covered with white rambler roses. As I recall, the rose garden was established several years ago as part of the city's afforestation plan? I am the Red Queen. I had never gone inside before. Normally, the gate was locked and only open during the flower blooming season. But right now, the gate was wide open. Thank you, both of you. I'm going to go inside. I ran toward the gate to the rose garden. Alice, the Cheshire Cat shouted after me. He sounded unusually tense. Huh? What? Ouch! Before I could turn around, pain filled my right arm. What is this? A rose vine was wrapped around my right arm. It coiled tightly around my arm like a snake. The thorns pierced my flesh. Ow! I watched as my right arm became soaked with blood. Stop! Let go! Ignoring me, the rose vine pulled me with its incredible strength. A vine reached for my neck. Jesus! I tried desperately to avoid it, but the more I struggled, the more the thorns tore into my skin. Unable to bear it any longer, I shouted for help. Wait. Ask the Cheshire Cat for help. Ask the Cheshire Cat for help. I think one's meant to be the Hatter. Yeah, that was okay. I think that's gonna kill me, but that's okay. The Hatter tilted his head when he was saying to his seat. Sorry, it's rude to leave your seat during your tea party. That would be bad manners, you see. Bad manners? As if you even care about good manners. You can take it on your own. You're Alice, right? The Hatter waved his hand dismissively as he sipped his tea. I swore to myself I would never rely on the Hatter again. Dormouse helped me. At the urging, the Dormouse suddenly woke up. Alice. Grabbing a silver knife, the Dormouse jumped valiantly onto the table. Hold on, I'm coming. Nope. He started to trail off. Right. He began to stumble. No. Then he fell onto the table with a slam. At the same time, the knife he was grasping flew out of his tiny hand. Ah! The Hatter leaped from his seat. It seemed the knife's point had stabbed him through the hat, but I wasn't in a position to worry about the Hatter. Cheshire Cat, help me! Which was the one I wanted to pick. Cheshire Cat ran over without making so much as a sound. He was so quiet and quick it almost seemed like he had teleported. And with his sharp claws, he quickly scratched his arm. Red blood suddenly began to pour. What? Why did you do that to your arm? For a moment I thought the Cheshire Cat had gone crazy, but then the vine wrapped around my arm began to loosen. A few vines let go of my arm and went for the Cheshire Cat instead. The Cheshire Cat ignored the rose vines that were coiling around him and started peeling off the vines that still stubbornly clung to me. The pain of my skin being torn made me scream. When I was finally free from the roses, I rolled onto the ground. The roses had lost all interest in me. They had new prey now, the Cheshire Cat, who was being ensnared by the vines faster than I was. Cheshire Cat! Oh, this could be bad, said the Hatter in an unconcerned tone. The story goes that cats are the rose's favourite food. Personally, I'd rather eat Alice. I'm too scared to touch the Cheshire Cat anyway, the Hatter continued nonchalantly. I need to do something. Reaching toward the table at top, I quickly pick up a knife. Reaching toward the table, I quickly picked up the knife. I'm going to take this too, okay? I said as I grabbed the white quilted tea coats. What? You can't, the Hatter screamed. I grabbed the knife. I grabbed the translations are wrong. Tried to cut the vines with what was effectively a butter knife, but to no avail. Oh, okay. But I didn't mind. Frantically, I started sawing the vines with a knife and began cutting them down one by one. The rose vines fell to the ground, writhing. Where the vines had been cut, a thick red liquid poured out. Blood? A shiver went down my spine. That's probably jam again. The formerly grey Cheshire Cat now had a red and grey malted coat. You really are an idiot, Alice. White roses drink blood. Everyone knows that, Alice. It's just common sense. White roses drink blood and turn red. The dormouse muttered sleepily. I turned around and saw that the white roses had turned light pink. Blood turns the roses red. This is the first I've heard of it. But I couldn't bring myself to argue. I'm sorry, Cheshire Cat. Alice, it's not good for you to cry for me. Cheshire Cat flashed his usual thin smile. That's right, stupid Alice. You've disrupted the natural order of things. The Hatter shouted incomprehensibly as he shook the tea in his cup. Your injuries, I need to tend to them. As I said that, I began to shake. That was scary. If I lost the Cheshire Cat, I wouldn't have any other allies. And then At that moment, the Cheshire Cat suddenly grabbed my wrist with his bloodied hand. What? I felt my wrist get hot in his tight grip. Hey? I tried to ask what's wrong, but instead I swallowed my breath. For just a moment, the Cheshire Cat's face looked like it had warped. Huh? I rubbed my eyes. Something wrong, Alice? I didn't notice a thing. The Cheshire Cat asked, then he let go of my hand. I stared at the Cheshire Cat as if I were trying to burn a hole through him. There's no sign that anything changed. No, it's nothing. It must have been my imagination. I finally noticed that I had stopped shivering. Still, I am upset. However, it's okay now. Hey Hatter, do you have any bandages? Of course not. Do you need bandages at a tea party? Use your brain. Well, I guess that makes sense. Then can I have that napkin? You can have it. Oh, Alice. Yellow. Yellow or heterochromia, where it's like one's yellow, one's green, or something like that. The napkin from the table is sitting next to him. No napkins are a must for a tea party. But before the Hatter could intervene, the napkin was in my hands. Cheshire Cat, let's go clean your hands. That won't be necessary. After he said that, the Cheshire Cat began licking the red stains on his robes. Blue or purple eyes? Oh right, he's a cat. Wait here. I ran over to the park's water fountain and began to wash the blood off my arms. The cuts were painful, but they looked worse than they really were. If I leave them alone, they'll stop bleeding. I soaked the napkin in water and wrung it out. Then I returned to the Cheshire Cat. I wiped the parts that I thought the Cheshire Cat would have trouble reaching. You should lick them too, Alice. I don't lick wounds. I'm not a cat. Cat blood is delicious. I said I'm not going to lick them. Stop being a creep. The Cheshire Cat seemed like he wanted to lick my wounds too, but I politely declined. Alice. Still sleeping, the Dormouse handed something to me. It was a bandage made from a torn napkin. I thought I saw the Hatter muttering to himself as he made something to the Dormouse's specifications. It seemed he was making a bandage. For me? Thank you. I pat the Dormouse's head and he contorted his body in pleasure. I'm the only one who made it. The Hatter slapped away my hand. Okay, thank you too, Hatter. I poked his silk hat, but the Hatter just defiantly turned his head away. As the Cheshire Cat wrapped the bandage around me, I asked the Hatter, how do I go through the gate anyway? Why, you can just waltz through it. Well, the roses are sleeping, duh. I know, the Hatter responded rudely. He didn't seem pleased by how kind the Dormouse had been to me. The two seemed to have a weird power dynamic in their relationship. Sleep? Roses sleep? When? They'll go to sleep at 4 o'clock, because roses are early to bed, early to rise. 4 o'clock. I looked at the clocks scattered about the dishevelled table. Their hands all pointed to 4 o'clock. They hadn't moved at all. Well, it's always 3 o'clock here, right? When do they sleep? I said they'll go to sleep at 4 o'clock, didn't I? Yes, so when will it be? I think the translation got mixed up again. So when will it be 4 o'clock? And I think it said that it's meant to say that the clocks were still 3 o'clock and that they haven't moved. When the clock's hands move, of course. Okay. The clock just needs to say 4 o'clock, right? I picked up one of the clocks from the table. I twisted the screw that moves the hands. Huh? The screw was stuck and wouldn't budge. What are you doing? You're such a stupid girl, Alice. Only small time can move the hands of the clocks. That's just common sense. The Hatter seemed offended by my idiocy. Who's small time? You don't even know small time? Ugh, unbelievable. What ignorance. Annoyed, I puffed up my cheeks. Well, excuse me, what you call common sense isn't common sense to me at all. I know what time it is. Don't act like you're a chummy with him. Well, then can we have this small time person move the hands of the clock for us? Aren't you guys tired of this tea party by now? Hatter suddenly fell silent. He's been captured, the Dormouse muttered tiredly as his eyes still shut. Though he was sleeping, he was still able to hear our conversation. Captured? By who? By Her Majesty, the Queen, of course. Her Majesty, the Queen? There's a Queen, too? Small Time doesn't have a body, which means he doesn't have a head. Have a head either. That's why he's been captured. Huh? I don't understand what the Hatter is saying anymore. The Queen hates anything that's headless. The Cheshire Cat explained vaguely. I didn't understand at all, but if I just accepted the story at face value, it went like this. The Queen hates anything that's headless. Tiny Time doesn't have a head. So the Queen got mad and imprisoned him. I thought about it for a little bit. That's the case, she wouldn't imprison us, right? Because we have heads. If we went to see her, would she agree to meet me? I'm no one special. It's subjective and not common at all. What is common sense to us is not common sense to people in other regions. From towns to countries, everyone has a different perception of common sense. It's very true. Of course she'll let you visit him. You're Alice after all. Really? I guess being Alice has some perks. Well then, I'm going to ask the Queen to free Small Time. How do I get to her? How do I get to see the Queen? Go through the pipe across the ocean. Holding a cookie in his hand, the Hatter pointed to the pipe in question. Pipe? On the other side of the sandbox, I saw 2 cement pipes lined up next to each other. They weren't real pipes, just playground equipment designed to resemble pipes. The pipe... If I go through a pipe, I'll just come out the other side and be back in the park. Ugh, you're so annoying, Alice. You complain too much. If you keep complaining, I'm going to put you between 2 slices of bread and eat you like a sandwich. But I lowered my head. Well, let's go then. I didn't want to become a sandwich. I faced the pipes and started walking when I suddenly heard a scream. I looked and saw that the Dormouse had stabbed the Hatter's hand with a fork. Ouch, I told you, the cake is over there. The red pipe. That entrance. How Alice. The Dormouse mumbled, then raised his fork to bring the Hatter's hand to his mouth. Ow, 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 ow. Hey, don't eat. That's my hand. The cake is here. Well, they seem to be having fun. Let's go, Cheshire Cat. We left the bustling tea party and headed toward the pipes. Oh, an ad. Hold on. 1 red, 1 blue. They look like normal pipes. I peered into each one. Both were just under 10 feet long. I could see through each of them to the other side. I looked and saw the word exit carved in one of each pipe. On the other side, the word entrance was carved in. I think the kids who play in these pipes should decide for themselves which side to enter and exit from. Well, there's no use just standing here. Even if it's a trick, let's just go. Both pipes were just big enough for me to crawl through. It didn't look like I needed to worry about getting stuck. Red pipe. I entered the red pipe. Oh god, looking out the other side of the pipe, I could still see the park under the night sky. Even when I go through this pipe, I'm pretty sure I'll just end up back in the park. Half doubting, I continued to crawl through the pipe. I could sense that the Cheshire Cat was following behind me. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. We were nowhere near the exit. Hey, Cheshire Cat, was the pipe always this long? I thought it had only been about 10 feet long. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. The scenery outside the exit gradually became darker. Eventually, as if filling with ink, I was staring at a black circle. However, the distance to the exit hadn't shortened at all. Are we even moving forward? No need to worry, just go straight. Okay. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. We kept moving for a while, but the exit wasn't any closer and it was still pitch black. I started to worry and said to the Cheshire Cat behind me, "Hey, is this really okay?" "No need to worry, just go straight." The Cheshire Cat repeated the same words as before. Okay. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. The exit hasn't gotten any closer and no need to worry, just go straight. I suddenly stopped my feet. No, my knees. The Cheshire Cat had only said the same words for a while now. This situation seems familiar. That's right, the tale of the 3 magic charms. I'm too full for that. It's a fairy tale about a boy who ran away from the mountain witch and used a magic paper charm to pretend to be him on the toilet. Isn't this a similar situation? Cheshire Cat? I turned around quickly. His usual smiling face was there. What is it, Alice? It's nothing. I should just keep moving forward without complaining. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Eventually, the pitch black exit began to light up, glowing a slight shade of red. The circle also grew larger, and I finally saw what we were getting closer to the exit. Finally. My back hurts. Oh, it's like the Red Sea. Upon exiting the pipe, my hands and knees were greeted by white sand. I heard the sound of splashing waves. A sea stretched out before me, but this wasn't any sea that I was familiar with. The sea's water was deep red. A red haze coated the surface. There was no wind or any kind of salty aroma. It might not be the actual sea. Within the haze, I saw a white figure. Oh, it's a rabbit! Because of the red haze, his white ears were now dyed light pink. The white rabbit stood on the surface of the sea with his back facing me. My heart skipped a beat. He's very close, closer than he's ever been before. I slowly walked through the sand and approached the rabbit's back. My breathing quickened. The rabbit didn't run away. A bloody wave washed over my feet. If I stretch my hand out, can I reach him? My heart pounded rapidly. At that moment, a thought occurred to me. Is it okay for me to catch him? Really? Yeah, because he's a Pokemon, apparently. Daringly, I grabbed the rabbit's arm without a hesitation. At that moment, it felt like an explosion detonated in my head. You stayed, Rabbit. Don't cry. I can't take it. That's fire. It's not your fault. My stomach burst. The box will break soon. Even though I love you, this warp is what I wish for. Why is the music Legend of Zelda-y? Alice! I felt a sharp tug and pulled me back to reality. I stumbled back and a warm body caught me. I didn't need to turn around to know it was a Cheshire Cat. Just now. What was that? I asked, somewhat crazed, while still looking ahead. What did you see? The Cheshire Cat asked me as he held my shoulder from behind. I don't know. It was a lot of stuff just flashed through my mind. I was too confused, so can't explain well. Wait, where's the white rabbit? The white rabbit? I looked at the Cheshire Cat behind me. The white rabbit, he was here, and then when I touched him... An illusion, the Cheshire Cat said matter-of-factly. Illusion? The blood sea deceives people, smiled the Cheshire Cat. Be careful, you'll be sucked in. Oh, okay. An illusion? Then everything I felt just now wasn't real? It'd be nice if that was the case. Yeah, that's probably it. I don't need to worry about it. I shook the worries from my head. Yes, right now I need to focus on... The hat said to cross the ocean, right? I looked around the shore, but I couldn't find anything. I only saw white sand and some cliffs, nothing else. Doesn't look like there are any boats. Nope. What do you mean, nope? How are we supposed to cross the sea? We walk. Across the sea? That's impossible. I said at the Cheshire Cat. What? He took my hand and slowly walked toward the sea. I said it's impossible. My process was cut short when I took my first step into the water. Ah! Without a splash, my body sunk, but I'm still on the shore. I tried kicking out my feet in the water, but there was nothing to hook onto. If the Cheshire Cat hadn't been holding my hand, I might have been submerged completely. Oh? The Cheshire Cat tilted his head, still smiling. No, don't owe me. What is this? Why is it so deep? And why aren't you falling through? The Cheshire Cat was standing on the water surface. Under normal circumstances, the sea can be walked on. Under normal circumstances, no it can't. That's not good, Alice. The blood sea is bottomless. It's dangerous to fall in. It's not like it meant to fall in, you know. The Cheshire Cat proceeded to surely, yet leisurely, pull me up from the ocean. Then he proceeded to sling me over his shoulder. Why am I getting scolded? Doesn't make sense. The Cheshire Cat proceeded to walk out to open sea. Huh? Wait. Slung over his shoulder, I began to protest. You can't be serious about walking like this. It's impossible. I'm heavy. What if you decide to take a break and set me down? I'm not fat or anything, but I'm not particularly skinny either. I have a good amount of weight on me. And I was being carried across the sea. It's not like we're walking across a creek. In fact, can we even walk this distance? Heavy? What's heavy? What the heck is... It's like weight. Heavy is, Started to get anxious. I never really thought about what heavy meant before. Anyway, I'm heavy. Since I'm heavy, you can't carry me. Whoa! I lost my balance and grabbed the Cheshire Cat's head without thinking. Then you're not heavy, Alice. I'm telling you, I'm heavy. But I can carry you, Alice. That may be, but I'm still heavy. So you need to use a lot of strength, right? So you'll get tired, you know? That's what heavy... I don't need to use a lot of strength. The Cheshire Cat demonstrated by lifting me with one arm. He moved as if holding something very light. As the one being lifted, I felt very stable and didn't seem like he was struggling at all. I'm really not heavy? No. Why? It's known that Alice can be carried. It is known? Of course. Alice can be carried. Rocks cannot be carried. These are known. Wait, you can't carry rocks? That fact was more surprising. No, you can't. If you move them without their permission, it inconveniences the rocks. Is it really an inconvenience? Alice, you should really have more respect for rocks. It doesn't seem like he's exerting himself or being overly polite, and he's definitely not making a bad joke. In that case, it's fine. He says I'm not heavy. Doesn't look like there's any other way to cross the sea than for the Cheshire Cat to carry me anyway. I'm a little annoyed that rocks get more respect than I do, but I'll let it slide this time. And so, I stayed on the Cheshire Cat's shoulder. Like any other cat, the Cheshire Cat's body was very soft. It is. I felt bad because his body was so squishy, and since he said I wasn't heavy, I had him switch positions so I was sitting on his shoulders. You said you already were sitting on his shoulders though. It wasn't too bad getting piggybacked, but it's surprisingly tiring for the one getting carried as well. When I was shrunken, I was always on his shoulder. It's very relaxing up here. Now I think about it, I got carried like this a lot when I was a kid. Huh? As I sat perched on the Cheshire Cat's shoulder, something felt slightly off, and I cocked my head. What is it, Alice? Oh no, it's nothing. It feels different compared to when I was tiny. Maybe because my body was bigger? I felt like I had more to grip than I do now. With no other options, I carefully grabbed the back of the Cheshire Cat's hood. Now that I think about it, what's under his hood is still a mystery. I brought my face close and caught the faint smell of animals, but it's not a bad odour. It's warm and calming. Carrying me on his shoulders, the Cheshire Cat walked across the sea as if floating. He's been walking for a while. I twisted around to look behind us. It had been a while since we lost sight of the shore behind us, but the shore ahead of us had not come into view yet. Only the thick red haze surrounded us. It's so huge, isn't it? The Red Sea was unnervingly calm, but it only had small ripples on the surface, so it might be more accurate to call it a lake. The sloshing water was soothing to my ears. When I looked around, all I could see was a Red Sea. It felt like a sea of blood was the whole world, and the Cheshire Cat and I were the only people in it. I couldn't tell which way was forward anymore, but the Cheshire Cat continued on without stopping. After walking a little while longer, we finally saw a thin black shadow within the haze. What could that be? The Cheshire Cat approached this object. It was a tree. A tree growing from within the Red Sea. There were no leaves on this tree, just a single white flower on the very tip of a branch. It was very simple, but also very elegant. I know this flower. Do you now? A sweet aroma wafted gently through the air. Yes, this flower smells good. That's why I liked it. There's only one flower. I wonder if it will wither and die. The Cheshire Cat didn't respond. Instead, a shrill cry hit my ears. Yip, yip. I turned around, drawn by the sound. The Cheshire Cat turned his entire body to see what it was. It's the dog toy again. From the red haze, a small toy dog appeared. He walked, splashing on the surface of the sea, then stopped and barked. Walked, splashing as he did so, then stopped and barked. That's the toy dog I saw in the dark passageway of the hotel. But that toy dog was burnt all over, and you could see its metal skeleton. This toy dog standing before me was covered in fluffy, chestnut-coloured fur. Suddenly, the toy dog burst into flames. I screamed without thinking and grabbed onto the Cheshire Cat's head. Spewing red flames and black smoke, the toy dog came closer to us. Yip, yip. Walk, stop, and bark. Walk, stop, and bark. Cheshire Cat, run away! But the Cheshire Cat did not move. Yip, yip. The sound of extinguishing flames, and I found the toy dog began to gradually sink into the water. As he sank, the toy dog was still trying to walk towards us. Yip, yip. Walk, stop, and bark. Walk, stop, and bark. Finally, at the Cheshire Cat's feet, the toy dog gurgled white foam and sank into the sea. My hand still gripping the Cheshire Cat's hood was shaking. Oh, what was that just now? That's what I wanted to ask, but my jaw was clenched tight. What is it, Alice? The Cheshire Cat urged me to speak. It's nothing. I expressed the words that were trying to come out. My mind was a turbulent mess. I can't ask. I felt like I had received a warning. I don't know how to maybe that sound, but I quickly looked at the spot where the toy dog sank. There was no trace of it anywhere. I felt like I had seen that toy dog before, a long, long time ago. At that moment, the flower's gentle aroma became stronger. I looked back and saw one petal falling into the sea. Ooh. The white petal was slowly turning red, like implicating something. Oh! Chapter 5. Castle of Beheading. Oh, that's great news. Just when I was beginning to worry that our destination couldn't be reached by foot, the silhouette of a large black building appeared within the fog. After walking a little while longer, the silhouette became clearer and more defined as it grew larger and larger, until finally the long-awaited shore came into view. Is that the Queen's Castle? Yes, it is. I hadn't put me down on the beach, then I gazed up at the castle. The beach gradually sloped upward to the ground as greener as it got farther from the ocean. The castle itself was nestled atop a small hill. A small cobblestone trail winded up from the beach. We followed the trail. Ooh, lovely. At the end of the trail, we were greeted by an imposing castle. A grassy meadow stretched before the castle, while a dark forest seemed to reach out and embrace the castle from behind. It seemed more like a palace than a castle. It had no gate, nor did it have a beautiful garden that you would associate with a palace. The meadow's grass grew freely and reached just above my knee. The castle is pretty impressive, but doesn't it seem a little run down? I ran up the worn stone steps and stood before the giant iron doors. A relief of the Queen of Hearts was carved into each of the doors. It looked just like the design in a deck of playing cards. I grabbed the heavy knockers and knocked on the door. Bam! Bam! There was no response. I knocked again. Bam! Bam! Again, there was no response. I tried to forcefully pull open the doors, but to my surprise, they opened rather easily. I peeked through the small opening, but it was dim, so I couldn't see inside clearly. Perhaps no one is here. I slid through the crack between the doors. Alice. I heard the Cheshire Cat's voice from behind. Be careful of your head. You're delicate. Huh? I turned around, but the Cheshire Cat was gone. The iron doors slammed shut. No, wait! I pushed and pulled on the doors, but though they opened so easily before, this time they wouldn't budge at all. Ugh. I pounded my fist on the doors, then looked around the dark room. I wonder if this is the hall. A high ceiling, a hard floor. There was a massive staircase in front of me that seemed to go all the way to the second floor, but it was so dark I couldn't quite be certain. Ow! I took a few steps forward but stopped after I stepped on something squishy. What was that just now? A house usually has a light switch near the entrance, but I'm not sure where the light switch would be in a castle. Losing hope, I tried feeling the wall for anything I could find. Then my hand pushed against something. What is this? A lever? I pulled the lever without really thinking about it. Buttons are meant to be pressed and levers are meant to be pulled. There was a crackling sound and then a dim light filled the hall. To my surprise, that lever was actually a light switch. But the giant chandelier dangling from the ceiling wasn't lit. Only the sconces on the walls and next to the staircases were shedding light, so the hall was still quite dim. But it was enough light for me to confirm the horrors that awaited me. Oh! A horde of corpses were strewn about the hall. There were human bodies, mouse bodies, bird bodies, every conceivable body type lay before me. They all had one thing in common: their heads were gone. The sconces cast their red light across their neck stumps. I stared at them all dumbfounded. There were so many bodies I couldn't quite process what I was seeing. They looked like some kind of vulgar art piece. But when my brain finally registered what my eyes were seeing, I was immediately overcome with fear. Open the doors, Cheshire Cat! I banged on the doors, but they wouldn't budge. My fists made ineffectual pounding sounds. Hey, Cheshire Cat, are you out there? I said open the doors. I continued to pound the door for a while, but it never opened, and I never heard the Cheshire Cat's voice. So I gave up and fearfully turned back to face the hall. In addition to the staircase that led to the second floor, there was a door to my right and another door to my left. It was scary to be alone with the sea of corpses. Where should I go? Right. It seemed like some sort of dining hall. There was a massive fancy-looking table surrounded by equally fancy-looking chairs. In addition to the door I used to arrive here, there was another door. Portraits and landscapes of unknown places lined the walls. The room's furnishings were rather splendid, though everything was covered in dust, and a large cobweb had formed in a corner of the ceiling. The room looked like it hadn't been used in quite some time, but for the time being, I let out a sigh of relief. At least there were no corpses here, but no one. Dirty, dirty radish, scrub it real good. Scrub-a-dub-dub, it's still black. Scrub-a-dub-dub, now it's white. Keep on scrubbing. What is that weird song? I hear someone singing somewhere. They're not very good at it though. Open the other door leading to an area past the dining hall. Ha ha ha! It was a kitchen. Several black iron cooking stoves were lined up next to each other, and pots and pans of all sizes hung above a large workstation. A delicious, almost tantalizing aroma wafted through the air. I could hear that cruddy song from here before. I searched for the singer and came across the round shape of something that had fallen on. Its back near the workstation. There was a red stain smeared on the floor. Blood? But upon close inspection, I could see that it was just squashed tomatoes. A roly-poly man was laying on top of the tomatoes. I think he had fallen and squished them. The round man was wearing a cooking smock and a face mask. He looked exactly like a cafeteria lunch lady. Holding a ladle in his right hand, he waved it to the tune of his song. Scrub-a-dub-dub, peel off the skin, bloody blood, blood. Scrub-a-dub-dub, now it's all red. Bloody blood, blood, radishes aren't enough. Excuse me, what are you doing? I told you the next course is dirty rabbit. Oh. Still laying on his back, the smoked man darted his eyes at me. Oh, Marianne! There you are, Marianne. You're late. I got tired of waiting. Huh? I don't need excuses. Just help me up. Hurry, he said, holding out his stubby arms. Okay. I pulled on his arms and the smocked man finally stood. Ah! This must be Mock Turtle. Goodness, oh, the pot, it's all burnt. It's all your fault, because you were late. I think it's because you were laying down and singing, but Well, it's boring just to lay there. Then you shouldn't lay down. I stepped on a tomato and slipped. What was I supposed to do? You could have just gotten up. When I'm on my back, I can't get up on my own without this body of mine. If I could, I wouldn't be a mock turtle. Mock turtle? Well, that doesn't matter. I'm glad you came, and I've been waiting for you, Marianne. Granted, you're 253 days late for your first day of work, but that's all water under the bridge now. How lenient of him to let 253 days of absence slide. I'm Chef Mock Turtle. Now, Marianne, I need you to work hard for me, said the Mock Turtle, thrusting the ladle towards me. I'll play along as Marianne. I'm not Marianne, I started to say, but I stopped talking after my hand brushed against the piece of paper on top of the workstation. What could this be? I skimmed through it. Deep fried Alice, sauteed Alice, Alice Carpaccio. Huh? You're not Marianne? Chef Mock Turtle turned around. What's this? I held the paper for him to see, with the words across it were unsettling to read. Oh, that's dinner. That's the dinner menu. But I can't seem to get the main ingredient delivered. It's rumour that she's on her way here, though. But you really can't trust rumours, can you? I guess I'll just have to. You'll have to hunt her down myself. I'm Marianne, I declared. Oh, I see. I thought so. All right, Marianne, it's time to work. First, you must clean the hall. The headless corpses are in the way. So, okay, when you're done cleaning the second floor's boiled. Oh, it's just skipping. I almost forgot. We must first bring it. Wait, what is happening? And the polished dishes too. They haven't been able to maintain in a while, so the silverware is all tarnished. Also, I'm not sure where the carrier pigeon Peter. He's probably lost somewhere around here as well. Can you pop in and grab him? And then after that, I need you to help me. I can't do all that at the same time. Oh my god. In spite of myself, and the Mock Turtle let a tiny scream and retracted his head. It wasn't a metaphor. He literally retracted his head into his body. When that happened, I screamed again. Don't scare me like that, Marianne. You took the words right out of my mouth. Put my hand over my racing heart. That's right. He's a Mock Turtle. He can do that because he's the Mock Turtle. If he was human, it would be a problem. But he's a turtle, so it's totally normal turtle behavior, right? Anyway, it's impossible for a single person to do that many jobs at once. Mock Turtle stuck out his head with a pop. Well, there's nothing we can do about that since it's just the two of us. Why? Because the Queen beheaded everyone else, the Mock Turtle said disappointingly. Remembering all the headless corpses scattered around the hall next door sent a shiver up my spine. Why did the Queen behead everyone? Did they do something really bad? She can't help herself. She loves heads. The Mock Turtle sighed once more. That's just how it is, Marianne, so you have to be careful not to lose your head. For the time being, you and I will just have to do all the work. Well, though I hate to waste this opportunity, I must resign from my position effective immediately. I turn around. If he finds out I'm Alice, I'll be eaten, and even if no one finds out, I'll still get beheaded. All I can do is leave this place as soon as possible. Mock Turtle was clinging tightly to my waist. Why? I waited for you for so long. I can't work in an environment where I might get beheaded. Isn't it ideal to work in an environment where you're needed? I think a worker has the right to choose where they work. Marianne! Please excuse me. Let me go already, please. With the Mock Turtle still hanging on... I'm gonna say wrist. I think it's meant to say wrist. I trudged back to the hall. No, I finally found a kitchen maid. I'm not letting you get away. Stop it already. I'm not even a kitchen maid. I started to yell without thinking. You're not a kitchen maid? Oh no, I am a kitchen maid. That's right, exactly. Right now, we have the highest expectations of you out of everyone else in the castle. I can't do it, the pressure's too much. Now let me go. What are you doing? I suddenly heard the voice of a cute little girl. Your Majesty. The Mock Turtle quickly released me and kneeled on the spot. I looked up from where I laid on the ground and saw a cute girl stand there wearing a pale rose-coloured dress. Oh, I like her dress. It's really pretty. She had pale skin and slightly wavy hair. Her lacy dress was a pale rose colour. She looked just like a princess, the kind I would dream about when I was a little girl. She's a queen? This girl? She seemed much younger than I had imagined the queen to be. In fact, I think she was even younger than me. Hey, Marianne. As I stared blankly in awe, the Mock Turtle grabbed at me and pushed me to my knees. Then he pushed my head down until my nose touched the ground. Ow, ow, ow. The Queen is the new kitchen. This is the new kitchen maid. She still hasn't learned any manners. Yes, Kitchen maid? The Queen asked, smiling. She really is quite cute. Is that so? She crouched down to look at me. Good afternoon, Miss Kitchen maid. What is your name? It's Marianne. Is it okay that I lied to her? Marianne. I see. I am the Queen. It is a pleasure to meet you, said the Queen as she took my hand and helped me to my feet. Oh, what should I do? I fluttered. Till now, the most important person I had ever met was the school's principal, so of course I didn't know how to act in front of royalty. The Queen was still staring at me, then she giggled and hugged me. Huh? What? Awkwardly panicked after being embraced so suddenly. The Queen got a good chuckle. You mustn't lie, isn't that right, Alice? You know who I am? She grabbed me by my shoulders and held me at arm's length. Certainly, there is no way I could forget you, Alice. The Queen frowned rather cutely. Oh, I'm sorry for lying. That is quite all right, because you have finally returned. Your Highness, I missed you, Alice, but it's all well and good now because you're going to stay here forever, right? Oh no, I can't stay here forever. I'm sorry, I just came to look for someone. No, you're going to stay here forever. By my side, as a head. Huh? What did she just say? As a head? I noticed a glint of light in my peripheral vision. I slowly moved my eyes toward it. Ah! It was the point of a giant scythe. The blade was roughly 2 feet long. Holding me tightly with her left hand, and she swung the giant scythe with her right. I shoved the Queen's chest as hard as I could. She stumbled a little, then smiled as she gripped the giant scythe that was taller than her. What's wrong, Alice? You must remain still. What are you planning to do with that? My finger shook. The scythe's blade was stained red and black. She wasn't holding that before. Where did it come from? Her pale, gentle arm raised the heavy-looking scythe. I plan to do this. The Queen swung it effortlessly to the side. I immediately covered my head and crouched down. A gust of wind from the scythe teased my hair. Oh, you mustn't move, Alice. It would be terrible if anything happened to your face. Scold, swallowed the Queen in her cute voice. I had ungracefully fallen to my butt, and my legs were shaking so hard I couldn't stand. Oh, Your Majesty, please don't behead her. She won't be able to work. The Mock Turtle blurted in a panic, still believing I was Marianne. The Queen's mood was clearly soured by his interruption. Silence, you fake sea turtle. I should behead you first. The Queen raised her scythe. Stop! She swung down the scythe impressively fast. However, the Mock Turtle was faster and retracted his head, arms, and legs into his body. The scythe merely sliced the air where his head used to be, and a peculiar-looking torso fell to the red carpet. As expected from one who calls himself the Mock Turtle, it seemed there was no need to worry about him. Oh, please give me a break. You're so violent, Your Majesty. I heard indistinct muttering from inside the body. Silence, you're in the way. Stay back. After yelling at the Mock Turtle, the Queen used the scythe handle and knocked him away. The Mock Turtle slid across the floor of the hall like a hockey puck. Ah! The Mock Turtle screamed pathetically, only stopping after bumping into the headless corpses. The Queen seemed displeased by the unbeheadable Mock Turtle and furrowed her brow angry at his shell. But when she looked at me again, she smiled as if to keep up appearances. I apologize, Alice. This time I shall probably behead you. Why are you trying to kill me? The Queen seemed confused. Oh no, I'm not going to kill you or anything like that. I just want your head. That kills people. You won't die. You'll live forever. If you stay here, Alice, you'll be safe. No one will be able to hurt you. What? What is she talking about? I was confused, and the Queen just looked at me with pity. It's fine, Alice. You don't have to force yourself anymore. You've been through so much, but you've reached your limit. So just go throw it all away. Her voice was kind, as if she was talking to a small child. What are you saying? I didn't understand, but still, I was badly unnerved. My fingertips felt cold, my vision began to warp. What just happened? But I was too frightened to figure that out, so I bit my lip painfully hard to calm my shaking. Hey, listen, this must be some kind of misunderstanding. I'm just looking for the white rabbit, and then... You mustn't chase after the white rabbit, the Queen screeched. Huh? The Queen's threatening tone made me falter. The cat told you, didn't he? But you mustn't. You mustn't chase after the white rabbit. You no longer need to do that. Why are you saying that? Please, Alice, stay here forever. If you do so, I will protect you. The sorrow in her voice almost convinced me, the voice enormously swayed by emotion. I desperately shook my head because if I don't stand firm, she'll just drag me away. I just came here to find small time. Small time? The Queen frowned and turned her head to the side like a child. That thing. I hate things that lack heads. Where is he? We're in trouble because of time isn't moving. The roses won't sleep, and the tea party won't end. If it's tea you desire, you can drink some with me. Nothing below your neck is necessary to enjoy tea. It's not that I want to have a tea party, and I need everything below my neck, so where is small time? But the Queen wasn't listening to me, just like everyone else in this place. You're such a good girl, Alice. Forget about the cat and the rabbit and leave them be. If you become a head, I'll protect you. The Queen swung up her sickle. Down came the scythe. I rolled out of the way and somehow managed to avoid the blade. There was no time to hesitate. I darted up the large staircase in front of me, and without a second thought, I opened a set of folding doors and jumped in. Oh, that's where she's placed all the heads. I froze on the spot. There were heads everywhere. On the other side of the folding doors was a hallway. The arched ceiling, ornate white, was quite tall. Luxurious candles were arranged here and there, casting their glow on heads. Every imaginable type of heads were placed like trophies on each pedestal on both sides. What is this? At the moment, I heard the Queen's voice from the other side of the door. Wait just a moment, Alice. My weak knees were stirred to action by the dread awaiting me. I fled through the hall. My footsteps thumped against the hard, polished floor. Head, 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 head. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I merely ran through the first door I saw. Oh, lovely bed. It was a bedroom. There was a soft shag carpet laid on the stone floor with an attention-grabbing canopy bed atop it. But I didn't have time to admire the stunning room. I dove under the bed. As a second later, I heard the door open. Laying on my stomach, I held my breath. The sound of rustling clothes approached me. My heart was pounding so hard I was worried my heartbeat was audible. Alice, come on out. It'll be over very quick. It doesn't mean it's a good thing. Alice? Ow, Alice? The Queen's voice quivered as if on the brink of tears. Where are you? Her voice trembled. Normally that would be enough to sway me, but at that moment my head was literally on the line. I didn't have any room to be persuaded. I thought you finally returned. So why? Are you there, Alice? Finally, the sound of rustling clothes became distant, and then I heard the door shut. Still, beneath the bed, I breathed a sigh of relief. The Queen left. I wonder why she was crying. I felt a twinge of guilt, as if I was the reason she was crying. I should have listened to what she had to say. Wait, no, she would have beheaded me without saying a word. Couldn't be helped, right? I listened for nearby sounds, but I couldn't hear anything. It seemed the Queen had really left. I started to crawl out from under the bed, but then I thought I heard something. Still partially under the bed, I stopped moving. Ring, 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 ring. There's definitely a sound. What's making that sound? Where's it coming from? I looked around the room, only to realize that the sound was coming from under me. I pressed my ear against the floor. There's no doubt it's coming from under here. I quietly approached the door and pressed my ear against it. I couldn't hear anything coming from the hallway. There was no sign of the Queen. All right. Care not to make a sound, I rolled up the carpet on the floor. There was a square iron plate in the center of the floor. The iron plate had an indentation in it. It appeared to be the type of trapdoor you would slide to open rather than pull up. I gripped the indent and slid the plate alongside, but it was heavier than I thought. After struggling with the iron plate for a while, I somehow managed to open it wide enough to slip through it. Inside, there were stone steps leading down. It looked like a spiral staircase. It was pitch black inside. Within the darkness, I could still hear the ringing. I thought about it for a bit, then squeezed myself through the opening. The stone staircase spiraled further and further down. I could barely see my feet in the darkness. I placed my right hand against the wall and carefully searched for each step with my feet as I made my descent. The further down I went, the louder that sound got. When I arrived at the bottom of the staircase, the sound was so loud it was almost painful. Oh! I was in a dungeon. The small stone room was divided in half by an iron gate. There was a chair in the half of the room where I stood, and a key ring hung from the hook behind it. There was a small padlock door in the iron gate that opened into a cell. Only a shabby bed and a table were inside. There was no person or even an animal in the cell. The cell itself didn't seem out of the ordinary. It looked like what I assumed was a normal dungeon. If it wasn't filled with clocks, that is, the dungeon was filled with acres of clocks. It completely covered the walls and floor. Wall clocks, desk clocks, watches, glockenspiel clocks. I noticed that were all set at different times. Each clock's alarm was going off at unbelievably loud volume. It's so loud, I feel like my head is going to explode. Instinctively, without thinking, I covered my ears. Then, the alarms became even louder. The more I tried to block out the sound, the louder it came to defeat me. While I was drowning in the flood of sound, I suddenly remembered the story of the north wind and the sun. The north wind tried to make the traveller remove his cloak by blowing constant wind at him, but the traveller only wrapped his cloak tighter. No, I don't have time to be thinking about that kind of stuff. I'm going to get deaf. Instinctively, I screamed. Shut up! The clock's alarms immediately went silent. Why did they stop? Maybe these clocks are unassumingly high-tech and contain speech recognition software? That's not possible, right? The air felt stagnant in the quiet prison. I took a step and heard a crunch, startling myself. I nervously surveyed my surroundings. Aside from all the clocks, there didn't seem to be anything unusual about this dungeon. It doesn't look like there's anything here. I should go back. I heard it when I took my first step onto the staircase. The clock's alarm went off once again. My heart skipped a beat. But unlike last time, only one clock seemed to be ringing. I searched for the source of the sound. It seemed to be coming from an alarm clock that was on top of the bed inside the cell. I used the key hanging from the wall to unlock the padlock and opened the gate to the cell. I turned the clock's ringing alarm off. The cell became silent again. Not a sound to be heard. Suddenly, I felt pressure, as if the heaviness of the air was pressing down on me. Was this dungeon so dark? I suddenly became scared. I should hurry and return upstairs. I hurried toward the staircase. Then, came to a stop before the staircase. What was that? Just now. I didn't make the sound, but I felt like it was coming from behind me. I don't know if that's a sound effect or someone saying something. My body froze in response. It's not my imagination, but there's no one here. It's a small dungeon. There's nowhere to hide. So this sound, this presence, what is it? I felt the hairs on my body stand up. Something's here. Something was dragging itself across the floor and coming... it's meant to be like a dragging sound. Its entire was covered with clocks, though the room was cluttered that it made walking practically impossible. I definitely heard the sound of something dragging itself closer to me. I should probably run away, but my body won't move. Drag. What felt like tendrils wrapped themselves around my leg. Slimy and cold, they slithered up my legs along my back. A countless number of long, skinny things clung to the back of my neck. My shoulders suddenly felt heavy. For a while, I couldn't move. Something was weighing down on my shoulders. Actually, it would be more accurate to say it was clinging to my shoulders. Finally, I hobbled onto the staircase. Someone, anyone, please. Even after I resurfaced from the dungeon, the heavy presence on my back did not go away. Moving my trembling body awkwardly, I stepped out into the hallway, along with whatever was riding on my back. Someone help. At this point, I was so desperate that someone could have been the head-hunting queen. I felt like she would have been a better option than this mysterious thing. But at the exact moment I needed her, the queen didn't appear. The entrance hall was still covered with headless corpses, but there was no sign of the queen. Instead, a beam of light shined down on the corpse pile. It was coming from outside. The large double doors that wouldn't budge earlier were now open, ever so slightly. Careful not to stimulate what was on my back, I slipped out of the castle. Out in front of the castle was a smile that never changed. Cheshire Cat! Right when I saw his face, my eyes began to well with tears. I wanted to run to him, but I was too scared because of whatever was on my back. I felt like it would strangle me if I annoyed it. Sobbing and sniffling, I walked over to the Cheshire Cat. Welcome back, Alice, said the Cheshire Cat in his usual tone. Why didn't you come with me? There were a bunch of heads and some weird thing is weighing down. I can't take it. The Cheshire Cat looked at me curiously. Alice, what are you crying about? Because on my shoulders. I pointed a trembling finger at my shoulders. Shoulders? There's something on them. Indeed there is. There is something on me. I screamed. Do something! Something. Cheshire Cat stared at my back with no semblance of urgency. You hate it? Yes, I hate it. There's no way I could like it. Please, I beg you, do something. After I screamed at him, the Cheshire Cat merely nodded, then picked up whatever was on my back. The tendrils let go of my neck and shoulders with a wet slurp. Finally, the heaviness that weighed down on my shoulders vanished. I vigorously rubbed where the weight had been. Ugh, it still feels like it's there. The Cheshire Cat looked at me and gestured as if it was craving something. You mustn't do that, Alice. Huh? What are you talking about? I was confused. His remark seemed unprovoked. You mustn't make Small Time cry. Wait, what? It is Small Time. What do you mean, I shouldn't make Small Time cry? Small Time always assumes the worst, so you need to be careful. Small Time? It can't be. I fearfully pointed at Cheshire Cat's cradled arms. Do you mean... The cat nodded. You're holding Small Time? Yes, I know how you feel, said the Cheshire Cat, not to me, but to whatever he was holding. Seems like he's holding Small Time in arms and speaking to him. Really? That sounds like it might be somewhat difficult, but we can try asking. Alice? The Cheshire Cat looked back at me. Small Time says he wants you to kill him? What? But since Small Time is visible to you, I think it'll prove difficult for you to aim at his vital areas. Vital areas? But if he wants to die slowly, that might be what's best. Wait, just a second. How do we arrive at this decision? What are you talking about? Like I said, he wants you to kill him. I mean, how do you even decide that? He said that really hates him, then he has no reason to live anymore. So his last wish is to die by your hand? By my hand? My mouth was agape. Well then, go on. The Cheshire Cat said and offered Small Time to me. No. So, no? Of course not. How did it come to this? What's this? What's with these leaps in logic? It seems that she won't do it. Yes, well, that's true. Really? Okay. The Cheshire Cat looked back at me and grinned. He said he'll kill himself then. My God! After that, it took me an hour before I finally managed to resolve our misunderstanding and stop Small Time's crying. At least I think I did. This is the only way I can express, because everything is relied on the messages from the Cheshire Cat. When he calmed down, I wasted no time cutting to the castle. So we need you to get time moving again. The roses in the park need to sleep, or else we won't be able to pass through the gate. Also, it seems that the Hatter and Dormouse can't end their tea party. I learned that it was difficult to talk to something I couldn't see. A little embarrassing too, because it felt like I was talking to myself. The Cheshire Cat was nodding. It looked like Small Time was saying something to him, but I couldn't see or hear him, so I had to imagine what he was saying based on the Cheshire Cat's reaction. Finally, the Cheshire Cat stooped down and seemed to place something on the ground. I felt something rub against my feet. I know it's Small Time, but this is still gross. Small Time? He left, Alice. He said he was going back to the tea party. Really? So we can pass through the Girls' Gate now? Cheshire Cat grinned. Wind blew through the grassy meadow. I didn't know where Small Time was now. I sighed in relief, then stared up at the Cheshire Cat. I wish he had told me that Small Time is invisible. I can see him. I know you can. What does he look like anyway? To my surprise, the Cheshire Cat needed to think about it. If I had to describe him, I'd say he looks cuddly. Cuddly? Like a teddy bear? Then maybe he's pretty cute, but he didn't feel very cuddly when he was on my shoulders. No, like a cuttlefish, only made of intestines. I shouldn't have asked, and now I'm really glad I can't see him. Oh my god. Well then, let's go back to the park. Right as I thought that, the Cheshire Cat shoved me to the ground. My cheeks scraped against the dirt, and on the other side of the tall grass, I saw a bright red spray of mist. Oh my god. The Cheshire Cat's head, still grinning, soared through the air and fell to the ground. God, the Cheshire Cat's always getting beheaded. His headless body staggered and swayed until finally it fell onto the grassy meadow. The meadow's grass slowly began to turn red. What happened? Behind the fallen Cheshire Cat, the Queen flashed her captivating smile. Cheshire Cat. My throat stung and my voice was raspy. My legs felt numb as I stood back up. I hesitated, wanting to run to him, but not knowing whether to go to his head or his body. In this situation, which is the Cheshire Cat? His head? His body? I thought about it for a second, then headed toward his head. The ground felt strange beneath my feet. Cheshire Cat! Hold on. Oh. His head had been cut off, so telling him to hold on was rather pointless. Unsure of what to say, I just sat down. Even now, the Cheshire Cat still grinned. His hood was cleanly cut off too, and though it flew through the sky, it hadn't slipped off his head at all. Alice, what happened? Why are you crying? The Queen tilted her head in concern. Crying? What do you mean? Why am I crying? Because of the Cheshire Cat? You're horrible. I felt my mind slowly begin to turn again at this point. You're horrible. Why would you do this? The Queen seemed taken off guard by my anger towards her somehow. Why would you cut off the Cheshire Cat's head? What a terrible thing to do. Oh dear, you mustn't cry about such matters, the Queen said, offering me her hand as she approached. I slapped it away hard. I hate you. Shocked, the Queen's shoulders trembled. She looked like she was about to cry as her pretty face became more and more warped. But I wasn't going to let something like that soften me. I'm not going to forgive you. I'm never going to forgive you. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but then she tightly pursed her lips. She then gripped her scythe and lowered her head. This is why I hate that cat, she murmured. Her eyes glistened with tears as she quickly looked away. I care about Alice so much more. The cat is supposed to be the guide. He is the furthest from you and second only to the guardian, and yet he made you cry. He has some nerve. Guide? Sulking, the Queen was looking with teary eyes at the cat as she rattled off complaints. I didn't understand what she was talking about. Alice. The Queen dropped her scythe and grabbed my shoulders. You mustn't shed a single tear for the cat. Truly, you mustn't. She's right, Alice. A voice of agreement came from none other. The cat's severed head. Well, that sounds about right. Alice, you can't weep for me, otherwise there would be no point, said the freshly severed head, lecturing me in a calm, serious tone. I became confused. You're alive? Yes, I'm alive. Even though you were beheaded. Normally a cat won't die if its head is separated from its body. Yes it will. It will definitely die. Still sitting in front of the head, I lowered my head. I was so relieved my strength left me. Then you're okay? It doesn't hurt? Not at all. Is it okay for me to be happy about this? I don't think I should be happy about his head getting cut off, but he seems okay, so maybe I could be happy about this? Oh no, I'm getting overwhelmed just thinking about it. I'm just not going to think about it for now. I picked up the cat's head. I'm glad you didn't die. I really am glad. My fingertips were cold, my heart was pounding. I felt like my body would shake if I held back, so I embraced the cat's head as tight as I could. I can't breathe, Alice. A cat won't die if its head is separated from its body, but it can still be suffocated to death, said the Cheshire Cat, muffled against my chest. You mustn't, Alice. Just throw that thing away. The Queen wrestled the cat's head from my grasp. She grabbed the head by the hood and held the cat at eye level. But even so, the hood didn't slip at all. Really, what's going on under that hood? Is there actually something in there? Really, Cheshire Cat, you're the only one who isn't any cuter as just a head. I don't want to hear what a head fetishist has to say. The two of them seem to have some kind of history together. You understand now, right, Alice? You don't have anything to cry about. Cats are just so unfaithful, lowly, irresponsible beings who won't stay quiet even when their head is cut off, you know. The Queen claimed so as she carelessly threw the Cheshire Cat's head to the side. The Cheshire Cat's head drew an arch in the air as it flew, then rolled heavily in the grass. The Queen, who didn't even so much as glance at the head, came up to me and cupped my face in her white and cool hands. As Romaine sat flat on the ground. I'm sorry, my hand slipped, but only because a cat interfered. Now, this time I'll behead you for sure, Alice, said the Queen. Then she picked up her scythe. Now I was surprised for two reasons at this point. The first reason was because she raised her scythe again, and the second reason was because the Cheshire Cat's headless body was standing behind her. The body quickly snatched the scythe from the Queen's grasp. What do you think you're doing, Cat? The Queen protested, but the Cheshire Cat's body didn't respond. It stood there vacantly as if at a loss of what to do next, holding the scythe it had seized. I can't hear you. My body doesn't have any ears, said the Cheshire Cat's head off in the distance. Give it back. When the Queen reached out her hand, the Cheshire Cat's body suddenly ran off with a surprising speed. Where are you going? But the earless body couldn't hear any voice. The Cheshire Cat's body sprinted away with a scythe and disappeared into the forest behind the castle. Hold! This is why I hate cats. The Queen picked up her dress and spouted a string of insults as she disappeared into the forest. They left. Yes, they did, said the Cheshire Cat, the head part. Half its face was still pressed into the ground. I picked his head up and placed it on my knees, then brushed off the dirt. Is it all right? Your body left too. I looked at the forest one more time. I couldn't see either of them. Please let it do as it likes. It's probably tired of listening to me anyway. You're so calm about this, aren't you? Aren't you going to be inconvenienced without your body? The Cheshire Cat smiled. Well, it's not that big of a deal. Really? I removed the napkin bandage from my arm and wrapped it around the Cheshire Cat's neck. It wasn't to stop the bleeding, though. The wound was just too gruesome to look at. The bleeding has already stopped. It's not that there's much else I can do in this situation anyway. It is a severed head, after all. All right, that should do it. I raised the Cheshire Cat's head and examined my handiwork with the bandage. His hood swayed with the grassy meadow in the wind. Though it sways in the wind, it never shifts out of place. You know, I've never really seen the cat's face. I carefully grabbed the tip of the hood that hung over the cat's face. Slowly, I started to pull it up. Alice? Yes? My voice gave away my intentions. In his usual smooth tone, the Cheshire Cat's head said, Once you look, you will never be able to unsee this. Knowing that, do you still want to look? Look. I couldn't stop my interest. I want to look. I want to look. I want to look. As if possessed by some force, I flipped back the hood. And then... Oh! It was a lively morning in the classroom when a female student spoke up. She had short hair and an energetic way about her. Good morning. Hey, did you hear? Her friends assembled around her with barely a greeting toward one another. Good morning. What? What happened? You all know about the girl from the class next door, right? Oh, you mean the one who disappeared? Her name was Arika, right? Hasn't she been missing for like a month? Funny you should mention that, because I heard they found her. Really? That's a good then. Actually, it's not as good as you might think. How come? It's a good they found her if she was missing. She was seen walking in a daze around the train station and the police took her into custody. Then, as if sharing a secret, she lowered her voice to a whisper. They say she was clinging preciously to a severed cat's head. The girls all became silent. Hey, isn't that like really bad? It seems like she's gone completely crazy. Disappearing. Everything is disappearing. All the sad things, all the happy things, everything is disappearing. Even I will disappear. See, if everything disappears, the only thing I'll have in my hand is just a cat's head. What? And under the hood. Oh! Oh, we got one of the endings! I don't know where this will put me. Oh. Can I, like, backtrack, though? Can I go back to the previous backlog? Oh, I might have to reload the... Okay. Oh, this is so good. I think this was the right Cheshire Cat. Yeah, excellent. Yes. It was the red one. What happens if I don't catch him? Catch my hand into a fist, it feels like... I gotta step back, but I couldn't move. Oh, what? And grab my ankles. Ah! I was dragged underneath an incredible force. Oh my god. It's deep. I kicked my feet in, but they didn't come in contact with anything. What is this? I'm sinking. I'm sinking. Red water filled my vision. I saw something in the corner of my eye. It wasn't an arm. My arm? The arm was covered in the same fabric as the sleeve of my apron dress. I looked and saw other body parts surround me. Legs, a torso, pieces of my disembodied body floated through the sea of blood. The head approached me, its black hair waving. It was smiling so happily. This is my blood. The head's mouth moved. Yours? And your blood? Mine? If I lost this much blood, I'd be dead. The head smiled. If your soul is wounded, it spills blood. My soul's blood? Was I hurt that badly? The head grinned again and spun around. Yes, you were so sad. That's why I... At that moment, I was pulled to the surface by some incredible force. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh. Why isn't it skipping? Skip! It's just the same one, just slightly different. Skip! Did I break it? Oh my god. There we go. Ooh! No, I'll just continue. Let go of the hood. You're not going to look? Asked the Cheshire Cat in an inviting tone. I'm not going to look. Because if you end up being some unbelievably handsome man, I'll be in trouble, big trouble. If it's something I don't need to see, then I'd rather not see it. I don't have any complaints about the cat as he is. No matter how deep the darkness lurking under the hood may be. I wrapped the severed head in my apron and tied it off on both ends, like a mother kangaroo carrying a joey in her pouch. Plus, this way I could use both hands. I'm sure it was a little stuffy from the Cheshire Cat, but I figured he'd just have to put up with it. Finally, I stood up. Well then, let's go back to the park, I said, then I turned around to walk back on the cobblestone trail. I stopped in my tracks. The castle was situated on a hill that stretched from the beach, providing me a clear view of the Red Sea. A vast bloody sea with no end in sight. Oh no, I whispered as I stared at the sea. How are we supposed to get back? The Cheshire Cat had carried me here across the sea, but now that he was the only ahead, he couldn't carry me. There is but one way here, but the way back is not, said the Cheshire Cat. It sounded like a riddle. Anyway, you should look around over there. Over where? Following his vague advice, I looked back toward the castle. The forest could be seen on the left and right sides of the castle, and I noticed worn trails leading to each side. Well then, let's pick a path, shall we? We'll pick the right door last time, so I'll do the left path. I followed the trail on the left. As soon as I entered the forest, I came across a giant beast. Griffin! What is that? It's the griffin. You mean like a real griffin? If you enjoy fantasy literature, the griffin is a famous beast that is mentioned more than one time. In books, their bottom half is a lion and their top half is an eagle, and this one was no different. However, this griffin also had a green snake for a tail. Its eagle eyes were shut as if it were in deep thought. Oh wow, it's the first time I've seen one. I wonder if it's sleeping. Thoroughly impressed, I cautiously approached it. It's a fantasy creature, so of course I've never seen one before. Wait, does this mean we're not in reality? As I pondered what this meant, the griffin suddenly opened its eyes. Its round yellow eyes caught mine. Oh, griffin's carnivorous? I glanced at its lower lion half. Its feline legs were so thick that I almost felt lightheaded. Good afternoon. The griffin blinked curiously. Cheshire Cat, are griffins unable to speak? They speak. But suddenly a kind, venerable voice spoke. Alice, you're speaking to my rear. I saw that the snake tail had coiled around through my face. This is my head. Huh? But really? Its butt was its head, and the head was its butt. None of the books ever mentioned that. But I didn't argue, because I would probably be told this was conventional wisdom again. I obediently shifted my focus to the snake. Its green head had round black eyes. Ugh, I'm actually not crazy about snakes. The snake stretched itself to peek in my apron, then said, "Oh, it's the cat." "Welcome home, Alice. My, how you've grown." "Huh? Have I met you before?" "Of course. You mistook my rear for the head when you were younger too," chuckled the snake in a comforting tone. "I met you when I was younger?" "Oh, not just me. Everyone has met you, Alice. We've all been waiting for you to return home." "Welcome home, Alice, everyone I've met so far has said to me." "Was it because I've met them before?" "But you don't remember, do you?" "That's quite all right. You'll eventually forget this meeting as well." "Of course I wouldn't." "You should forget. It's honestly better that way." What do you mean? When we don't exist, it's proof of your happiness, Alice. I don't understand. I don't understand at all. But I don't understand what you mean. But I wish you wouldn't say something so sad. The snake looked at me with kind eyes. Feeling a little awkward, I lifted my apron to face the Cheshire Cat. Cheshire Cat, do you know that I had met everyone before? The Cheshire Cat only grinned. So you knew. Why didn't you say anything? As expected, he gave me no response. He's always so secretive. After watching our interaction, the snake, or actually the griffin, objected. Don't blame the cat. He could not speak of this. It's the law of the guide. I recalled that the Queen had mentioned a guide before, too. What is the guide? The snake stared at me, then seemed to smile. All we wish for you is your happiness, Alice. I really do not like snakes. Why does he care about me so much? Why does he look at me with such kind eyes? He shouldn't owe me anything. When he says things like that, it just worries me. Well then, I thought for a moment. I will wish for everyone else's happiness. Then everyone will be happy, right? Little Alice was such a good girl. Grown-up Alice is a good girl too. Couldn't help but giggle. I'm just normal. Please don't forget. The snake's tone was suddenly serious. We are always wishing for your happiness, Alice. I was overwhelmed by the seriousness of his tone. I didn't feel like I could respond lightly. He's kinder than anyone else. He understands me more than anyone else. But he also confuses me more than anyone else too. He needs to be more overbearing and dismissive of what I'm saying, or else I won't know what to do. By the way, Alice, the snake said, contorting his body and speaking in a lively voice. What are you doing in a place like this? Oh yeah, I'm looking for a way to cross the sea of blood. At the park, the Hatter and the Dormouse are having a tea party, and we need to get back. The Cheshire Cat carried me here, but he's ahead now, so I couldn't speak clearly. Even so, the griffin seemed to understand, and the snake nodded deeply. If that's the case, hop on my back. I will take you there. Really? I clasped my hands in front of my chest. It will be lovely to ride a griffin. As I approached the griffin, its eagle-headed butt poked its beak at the Cheshire Cat. Looks tasty. No, you can't eat him. The eagle stared longingly at the Cheshire Cat's head for a while, but he finally looked forward, or would be backward, after the snake scolded him. With a grunt, I hoisted myself on top of the griffin's back and faced the snake. Alice, you're sitting backwards. What? Griffins travel backwards. Okay. As I immediately turned around, thoughts came to mind. Doesn't that mean this side is the front, so the eagle is actually the head? But I didn't say these thoughts out loud. It didn't really matter which end was really the head. I straddled the griffin and, according to the snake, faced its rear. The hair on the lion's back was smooth and velvety. I'm going to stand. Make sure you hold my rear tight. The griffin lifted its waist and spread its wings. I tightly gripped the base of the griffin's wings, sandwiching the Cheshire Cat's head between my stomach and the griffin's back. It's hard for me to breathe, Alice. Just enjoy it for a bit. I can't use my hands. You might fall. I'm taking off, said the griffin. Then he kicked off the ground. He flapped his wings a few times, creating a strong gust of wind. Before I knew it, we were flying. The forest and castle slowly shrank from view as we approached the Red Sea. It was comfortable on the griffin's back. There wasn't much shaking, so I didn't really need to worry about dropping the Cheshire Cat's head. The sound of his wings rhythmically cutting through the wind was pleasant to my ears. The warmth of his back and a floaty feeling that I'd never felt before were making me rather sleepy. I let my body relax and entrusted to Griffin. She falls off into the Red Sea, dead. Where am I? I looked around. All I could see was white. I was standing on my lonesome in the middle of this white space. I could not remember where I was going, or where I had begun. What was I doing? No sounds, no ground, no sky, just empty white space. Where is the Cheshire Cat? What happened to the griffin? To find two people. No, two heads? I started to walk aimlessly. Just then, I felt a light weight on my shoulders. I turned around. It's the woman again. The bandaged woman's face was so close to mine that I could feel her breath. She practically nuzzled up against me as she stared hard at my face. Without thinking, I pushed her away and fell. No sooner had I pushed her away than she stood hunched over with her back facing me. She raised her chin ever so slightly, then swayed her head. Blood suddenly gushed from her throat as her head whipped back. The woman's head was practically torn off. It dangled behind her, connected only by threads of flesh. The head, now upside down, swayed back and forth. The bandage peeling off her nose began to sway back and forth too. Rivers of blood flowed down the woman's face, dyeing it scarlet. The vivid red in this white world seemed to pierce through me. The woman pointed behind at my hand. I looked down, trembling. I noticed at that moment I was holding a box cutter in my right hand. Both my hand and the box cutter were soaked red. My hand started to convulse. The woman's lips, wet with blood, began to move. You killed him. No. You took him. You're wrong. Stop. I didn't mean to. Give him back. Stop. Give him back. Stop! I could not stand it. I could not stand any more, and my right hand holding the box cutter swung up in the air. What? Alice. When I noticed the Cheshire Cat looked at me and smiled as if he was slightly suffocating. A dream? That's right, just a dream. It's okay. The bandaged woman isn't here. It's okay. My hands still gripping the griffin's back were moist and slimy, but they were sweat, not blood. I pressed my forehead against the nape of the eagle's neck. Something squirmed deep in my mind, a feeling I had felt many times before. Something's trying to get out. A thought suddenly occurred to me. That's probably what I'm so scared of. Something getting out soon. They're going to land. The snake spoke, and I finally noticed that we had arrived at the sky above the park. Gracefully, the griffin descended and landed in the park. Thank you, Griffin, I said, addressing both Snake and the eagle. Okay, I'll save a top of it. I wonder... Okay, the snake tenderly coiled itself around my right hand. It was cold, yet kind. Alice, please proceed with caution. Uh-huh. The eagle drooled, still eyeing the Cheshire Cat's head, but at the snake's urging, the griffin took off into the sky. I watched him fly away until he disappeared into the night sky. There was no sign of the Hatter or Dormouse at the tea party. Only the messy table remained. I looked at the clocks on top of the table. It's past 4 o'clock. Yes, it is. It seemed that small time granted our request after all. At that moment, I suddenly heard singing behind me. Head, head, head. Oh, it's the White Rabbit! I turned around, and there in front of the rose gate was the White Rabbit. He was his usual transparent self and holding the doll in his arms. When I first saw the doll at the school, it was just a torso. Then, in front of the abandoned building, it had arms. It's got legs now! Now it had both of its legs and was only missing a head. White Rabbit. I tried to move my arms and legs, but it couldn't. Where could your head be? Still singing, the White Rabbit went through the rose gate. If you don't have your head, you can't smile at me. Oh, that's so sad. After a while, the singing vanished along with the White Rabbit, and the park was quiet once again. It was so quiet I felt like you could hear me swallow. Sounds kept coming out of my mouth that weren't actual words, but I couldn't make any other sounds. How am I supposed to explain this feeling of panic and fear when I don't understand it myself? In lieu of talking, I quickly looked at the Cheshire Cat's face. His face, covered by the hood, was smiling like it always did. However, there was a slight tension in his cheeks. Is he nervous? Worried? Now that I think about it, this is the first time I've encountered the White Rabbit with the Cheshire Cat. Cheshire Cat merely stared at the rose gate. Cheshire Cat, shouldn't you be going, Alice? He asked quietly. Yes. However, when I reached the rose gate, I stopped. It's okay, Alice. The roses are asleep. Just as he said, the roses did not attack. The flowers had all reverted to buds. But I hadn't stopped because I was scared of the roses. I don't want to go. That's how I really felt. But at the same time, I was really anxious to go through the gate. I felt like I needed to chase after the White Rabbit. But not because the Cheshire Cat told me to. I wonder why. I know that I don't have any other choice. A sound pierced my ears. Alice, Cheshire Cat said, urging me once more. Could it be that Cheshire Cat is anxious too? Okay, let's go. I wasn't talking to the cat, only to myself. Yes, because that is all that remains. So I ran, as though shaking off something that tangled around my heart. I ran into the sleeping rose garden. Okay. I have no idea. So clearly something happened in the real world, and she's processing it through here. The maze of red and black. I wasn't wearing a watch, so I had no idea how much time had actually passed since we went through the rose gate. Even so, I was certain that at least 30 minutes had passed. We're lost, aren't we? I stopped walking and finally faced the truth. Because it's a maze. That's just it. I snapped at the Cheshire Cat. Why is a rose garden a maze? It doesn't make any sense. And furthermore, it's so freaking big. I'd been dwelling on that for a while. It seemed much bigger on the inside than it looked from the outside. Is that a Doctor Who reference? It's normal for mazes to seem a lot bigger than they are, but even so, this is really big. There's no way such an enormous maze could fit in this one area for a community park. Can't be helped. The rose maze is an infinite maze. Infinite? By infinite, you mean infinite? Yes. No, not yes, because that means we'll never get out of here. Yes, we will. Every maze has an exit. How are we supposed to find an exit in an infinite maze? No need to worry, Alice. Just remain calm and let yourself get lost. You're so reassuring in moments like this. I let out a deep sigh. About 3 hours later, Jesus, our situation hadn't changed. Well, there was one change. I had come to hate roses. Weird, I muttered to myself while wandering about aimlessly. People are so weird. What kind of person pays money to willingly enter a maze? I wasn't even talking to the Cheshire Cat. I was just thinking it out loud. It's so weird. Who even invented the first maze? I don't get it. It seems that when there's no change in environment, people lose their capacity to think. I felt like my mind wasn't working properly. Why would anyone want to get lost in real life? You wouldn't get excited at all about getting lost. So to get lost on purpose, just for fun, it's counterproductive. Sometimes the more useless something is, the more important it is. True, that's deep, but that doesn't hold to me. I don't want to be lost anymore. I raised my voice in the beginnings of a tantrum, then heard the sound of footsteps racing away from us, from beyond the corner. For a moment, my brain awoke. As we quickly rounded the corner in a chase, the footsteps disappeared around yet another corner ahead. I couldn't see anyone. Who could it be? I asked the cat as I ran. Is it the White Rabbit? I don't know. As usual, the cat was nonchalant about this. Whoever it was kept rounding the next corner, making it so we couldn't see them. Only their footsteps remained, as if mocking me. Wait! I was getting impatient and becoming more and more annoyed. I started feeling increasingly desperate. Hey, wait! I rushed around the corner, pursuing the footsteps. A bush ahead of me was trembling. Without hesitation, and with all the moment of my running, I pushed myself through. Did we escape? But wait... After I crawled through the rose bush, I quickly stood up and looked around. There was no one there. But what was there shocked me even more. Is this my house? What? I was in my own backyard. I'd crawled out from under the bush that separated my family's house from our neighbours. Of course, my house is nowhere near the park, much less connected to it in any way. How is this happening? Hey, I looked down and gasped. My apron, which had been tied up on both sides, had come undone. The Cheshire Cat's head had been carrying in my apron was gone. Did I drop him? I looked around, panicking, but I didn't see a suspicious, freshly severed head laying anywhere. Maybe he fell out when I was crawling through the bush. Oh, but now that I think about it, he might have already vanished by then. If he fell out there, I'm sure he would have gotten in anyway. Maybe he fell out while I was running? Oh no. I'm sure the Cheshire Cat wouldn't do anything bad exactly, but a grinning cut-off head just rolling around isn't very good for public decor. I stuck my head through the bush in an attempt to return to the maze. What? But on the other side of the bush was the neighbour's yard. Well, that's what should be there, I guess. But I exited the rose garden through here. Maybe this is a one-way path. I can walk back to the park in about 15 minutes by the other route. I stood up. I need to go look for him. If someone finds him, there'll be chaos. I started jogging toward my house. I just had to follow the road in front of my house to get to the park. Soon, I was approaching the front door. Click. A sound pierced the silence of the night. I turned my head toward the source and saw the front door of my house had cracked open. Through the crack, I could see the white rabbit's back. What? But then the door closed quietly and the white rabbit was gone. My heart started racing. Feverish chills ran through my whole body. I need to go find the Cheshire Cat, so I kept making excuses for myself, so I can't go home. I have to go to the park. Despite that, though, my feet wouldn't move. On the contrary, and against my will, my feet took a step closer towards the house. No, I'm not going to go home. I don't want to go home. Is Ariko's home not safe? My feet unwaveringly advanced towards the door. No, not there. Not my house. I was sweating as I tried desperately to resist, but I couldn't even close my eyes. My hand defied my will and grabbed the doorknob. Stop, please, I don't want to go in the house. The doorknob was cold as ice. The door opened wide, and the dark house swallowed me whole. Okay. So I was thinking that maybe her mum blamed her for her dad's death, and so became abusive. Because I think that's maybe the fire and they all got hurt in some way, and so maybe the bandaged woman is her mum, and she's remembering her mum blaming her for the death. I don't know. The house was silent. There was no sign of the white rabbit anywhere. I lived in a small housing unit, so there was nothing separating the entrance area from the dining room. From the front door, a steep, narrow staircase led to the front door, and the kitchen and living room were separated by a sliding glass door. The glass door started to rattle. The door was opening by itself. Don't open. I immediately ran to the door and held it shut with my hands. The door rattled defiantly. I felt like I was being watched. I looked up. A scream emerged from the back of my throat. A woman stood on the other side of the glass door. She had bandages wrapped around her body and face. The glass was the only thing keeping our heads from touching. Then the bandages began to slide. They started to peel off before my eyes. One by one, the bandages fell. I immediately shut my eyes tight. My body started to stiffen from holding the door. I don't want to see. Don't show me. Welcome home, Ariko. That voice made me instinctively open my eyes. That woman's face on the other side of the glass was exposed. The face under the bandages was... Let go of the sliding glass door, and as if it had been waiting for me to release it, the door flew open. I knew it. It was her mum. By my feet, Mr. Takimura, my mum's fiancé, lay face down. His back was covered in stab wounds and wet with blood. I stared at him. Blood dripped from the box cutter I held in my hand. Mr. Takamura, I must have killed him. A scream erupted behind me. Moving my body felt very bothersome somehow, but I managed to twist my body and see behind me. There stood my mother, her face pale. She must have come down from the second floor after hearing something. Mum, my mother ran to Mr. Takamura. She shook his limp body, then looked up at me. Ariko, why? Why did you do this? Stop, Mum. Why are you looking at me like that? Mum, I approached my mother. She recoiled in fear. Don't come any closer, Ariko. The box cutter felt hot in my hand. Stop, Mum, please. Please. I raised the box cutter. Don't look at me like that. All vision and sound vanished. I sat at the wide open entrance to the living room. The living room was in disarray. Blood covered the room as if some kind of atrocity had occurred. My hand was also wet with blood. The tightly gripped box cutter was faintly warm. She killed her as well? What? Was it from the heat of my hand, or had it absorbed the warmth of the person's blood? As I looked around, I slowly began to understand. That's right. I killed them. Mr. Takamura and Mum. What should I do? I thought hard despite my hazy mind. Normally if you kill someone, that's right. I need to turn myself over to the police. When you've done a bad thing, you have to tell a policeman. I nodded and stood up. A punishment. I must go receive my punishment. For I was a person who had committed a sin. What? It was a 5-minute walk from my house to the police station. A red light shined in the darkness. A lone policeman sat in the dim room lit by a fluorescent light. The door to the station made a small sound as I opened. Good evening, officer. Good evening. The policeman sat straight and faced forward, moving only his eyes to look at me. There was a thin smile on his face. I killed some people. Is that so? His face was blank, like a no mask? I feel like I had met this man somewhere before. Please arrest me. When I offered my bloodied hands, his narrow eyes glanced at the box cutter I held in my hand. Is that the murder weapon? Yes. You stabbed them with this? Yes, I stabbed them. I murmured as I looked at the box cutter. How did you stab them? The policeman stood up. His smile didn't waver as he approached me. My heart was beating fast. Tell me, how? I don't know. How did it feel to cut into flesh with a blade? A crack formed between his narrow lips and a forked tongue peeked out. I don't know, that doesn't matter, just arrest me. Will I be executed? I'm going to get the death sentence, right? I grabbed the policeman's collar with my bloodied hands. The death penalty isn't decided after a verdict is reached. First, there must be a trial. His featureless expression didn't change at all. It was extremely annoying. I don't need a trial. I killed my mother and Mr. Takamura. Isn't that enough? It doesn't matter who killed who. What matters is the truth. His cold, smiling eyes sent a chill down my spine. It's the truth. If it isn't, then explain why there's blood on my hands. I shook him by his collar. At that, his cap fell to the ground. Green hair, wet and slimy, fell to his shoulder. It's that guy again. His red tongue flicked to and fro. Are you the one I met in the abandoned building? I am Bill the Lizard. Ah! Ow, Alice. I was about to let go of his collar, but Bill suddenly grabbed my wrist. His hands were cold and strangely soft. Such beautiful blood, it suits your hands well. What are you saying? I tried to back away, but it was too late. Ha! I heard a rustling sound, then my vision was covered. What? Something like a cloth brushed against my face. My head was covered by a sack. At that same time, my hands were bound behind me. I heard Bill the Lizard talk into my ear. Let's go, Alice. The trial will now commence. With my head covered by a sack and my hands bound behind me, Bill carried me off somewhere. I heard the sound of a crowd. Where could we be? Suddenly, my body lurched. I felt the hard floor under my feet. I had finally been placed on the ground. The sack rustled as it was removed from my head. What the hell? Is that an ice block? As my eyes adjusted to the light, I could see that we were in a giant hall. Columns were lined up like a coliseum. The gallery was filled with people. For some reason, they were all wearing silver masks. I stood in the middle of the hall. Before me was a tall stone table with the witness stand. The tall marble pedestal stood across the stand with a chair made of the same marble on the top. There sat a familiar woman. She was wearing a silver mask, but it was clear from her rose-coloured dress and the giant scythe that I was in the presence of the Queen. Behind the Queen stood a plump man in a smock, who was also wearing a silver mask. When I turned around, the thin man untying the ropes behind my wrists was wearing a mask as well. Bill, what is this place? This is the Court of Truth. Since he didn't correct me, I figured the man really was Bill the Lizard. Bill rubbed my freed wrists with his cold hands. Does it hurt? It stung a little, but it wasn't too much for me. I shook my head. A square box roughly 6 feet on each side had been placed between the Queen and myself in the middle of the Court of Truth. I didn't know what it was made of, glass or crystal. But the box was translucent and tied with a chain. It reflected sparkling light, and I couldn't tell what was inside it. Perhaps there wasn't anything inside. When I looked close, I could see fine cracks on the surface. Is it going to break? Despite its size, the box looked very fragile. Jesus. It was not the sound of a judge's mallet being pounded. It was the sound of the Queen hitting the ground with the handle of her scythe. Silence. The buzzing in the hall subsided. Satisfied, the Queen nodded, then lightly pounded the floor once more. Trumpets loudly erupted with the At the feet of the Queen's tall chair, the card guards with a trumpet were lined up. One of the playing cards lowered its trumpet, unfurled a scroll, and began to read aloud. The defendant, Alice, is charged with a serious crime. Thus, a trial shall be conducted. I merely spoke up. There's no need for a trial. I'm telling you, I killed them. The Queen pounded with the handle of her scythe. Will the defendant please refrain from speaking without permission? Your Majesty. Bill raised his hand. Please address me as Your Honour. Permission to speak granted. The defendant Alice has declared that she murdered her mother and acquaintance at her home. Oh, and? The judge seemed uninterested. After a moment, Bill continued solemnly. Alice is guilty. She deserves the appropriate punishment. I sighed with relief. Yes, this is for the best. What crime has she been charged with? Perjury? I don't think that's what murder is called. So I wanted to save in case I select the wrong ending. Yeah, perjury? Not murder? Startled, I turned around and looked at the cold silver mask. You're a liar. I'm not lying. I frantically appealed to the Queen. Your Majesty, I'm guilty. Please hurry and behead me. Why, Alice? The Queen, overcome with emotion, gripped her scythe and stood up. I'm pleased that you insist. Wait just a moment. I'll be right there. Wait, Your Majesty. Bill softly interjected. I was still questioning. Address me as Your Honour. How hard is it for you to follow my orders? If you intend to interfere, Bill, I shall slice through your skinny little neck too. The Queen raised her scythe, but the mock turtle next to her stopped her. You mustn't, Your Majesty. This is the Court of Truth. The lizard is the keeper of truth. Not even you can interfere with that, Your Majesty. Address me as Your Honour. I will ask a question to the defendant. What was your motive? Yeah, that's what I'm curious about. Ignoring the judge, Bill continued his questioning. My motive? The reason why you killed them. Why? I hesitated. Why? Well, because... You can't answer. Then let me answer for you, said Bill, who now faced the Queen. Alice hated her mother, Your Majesty. No, that's not true. Your Honor, that's a lie. As if pleased to be finally paid the proper respect, the Queen cleared her throat and sat down once more. The defendant denies the motive. Do you have any evidence, Bill? Of course there's no evidence because it's a lie. Ah! Bill grabbed my arm with his left hand. What? The expressionless silver mask looked back at me. I felt like I could see a cold smile behind it. Then Bill faced me and deliberately raised his right hand in a big swing. I automatically flinched my body. I twisted my body as to free my captured right arm. Then, I'm sorry. Her mum was abusive. A long moment of silence passed. My cheek had not been slapped, and I felt no pain. I had closed my eyes on instinct, and now I carefully opened them. Bill was still standing with his hand raised. He didn't hit me. What are you apologizing for? No, that's not... Your Honor, as you can see, Alice is afraid of being hit. The reason for that is, I need to tell them it's not true. But my voice wouldn't come out. I didn't know what I should say. Because I'm scared. I'm scared of being hit. Because the mother hit the defendant many times when she was a young child. Thus, she hurt many times. I knew it. My left cheek stung even though it hadn't been hit. From the gallery came murmurs of, oh my, and how terrible, and other voices of compassion and concern. Bill, stifling a laugh, said coolly, it's only natural that she would hate her. No. How terrible, our poor Alice. Enraged, the Queen stood, spread her arms and screamed. Then she had no choice but to kill her. The mother was clearly in the wrong. Cheers came from the gallery. No, it's not my mother's fault. Our pleading was drowned out by the jeering. How dare she hit our Alice? Yeah, it's the mother's fault. Alice is innocent. Please stop, no. She deserved to be killed. The mother is guilty. It's not my mother's fault. It's my fault because A cold voice interrupted me. Because you what? The toy? I noticed that Bill was holding a small dog in his arms. A small burned toy dog. At that moment, a bloody memory resurfaced in my mind. Because that's right, I did it. Killed my dad. The dog represented the dad? The courtroom fell silent. How did you kill him? Bill whispered. A cracking sound caught my attention. A large fracture had formed on the glass box. There was a fire when I was 4. My eyes were filled with tears, but my voice was surprisingly calm. I couldn't keep the words from escaping my mouth. That dog is a birthday present from my father. It was my best friend, so I went back in the house to save it. I heard the sound of the fire snapping and burning. Within that, I heard my mother's voice screaming, "Don't, Eriko, come back." But the fire was hot and scary and I couldn't get out, so I cried and then Dad came back for me. It's going to be fine, Eriko. Come on now, bring your doggy. I heard a roaring sound as something fell from the ceiling. Yeah, so the dad died in the fire and the mom blamed Eriko and abused her because of it. Dad pushed me out of the way. I don't remember what happened afterward, but when I woke up the next day, Dad was gone. After Dad's funeral, my mother took my dog away from me. That's the earliest memory I have of my mother hitting me. In the yard, I watched in silence as a black smoke rose from the dog. How had I forgotten? The memory of this traumatic event had been buried deep within me this whole time. Another large crack formed on the box. The cracks were increasing. There was no stopping them. So it's not my mother's fault. It's okay if it hurts. It's my punishment. So you killed your mother because you couldn't stand her punishment anymore? Yes, because I'm a bad girl. I answered absent-mindedly. I stared at the glass box. Please don't let any more cracks form. Please no more. Don't make me remember any more. Please no more. No more than this. Objection. A familiar voice echoed through the courtroom. Cheshire Cat? Cat's head fell from the air and plopped onto the glass box. The defendant is still lying. And what is the nature of this lie, Cat? I'm not lying. I killed them and I had a motive. So there's no more need for a trial, right? Just hurry and sentence me. The cold table shook as I slammed my fist into it. Please, I beg you. From on top of the box, the cat's head looked at me in a sorry state and smiled. You would rather take credit for killing them than admit what really happened. No, that's not true. That's really what happened. If I'm going to die... Vertical cracks ran along the glass box. It's going to crash. It's going to break. The contents are going to come out. Alice? In a calm voice, the Cheshire Cat delivered his final blow. Is your stomach okay? What? I don't know what the Cheshire Cat suddenly brought that up, but at that moment an unpleasant feeling crawled up my body. Blood flowed down from my thighs. I looked down at my body, mouth agape. A pool of blood spread from my feet. Blood was gushing out of my stomach. My stomach hurts. I doubled over and clutched my stomach. Ignoring me, the Cheshire Cat declared, "Now, let's open the box of truth." Then finally the transparent box shattered with a high-pitched crack and dispersed, leaving a shimmer where it had been. I ran into the living room. Started by the crashing and screaming, I had run down from the second floor. That's right, the person who came from the second floor was me. The sight before me left me breathless. My mother's fiancé lay on the floor. His back was covered in stab wounds and wet with blood. My mother stood there in a haze, gripping a knife. Mum, what happened? My mother slowly turned around. Her vacant eyes caught sight of me. Ariko. Mum, what happened? Why is Mr. Takamura... I ran to Mr. Takamura. I ran and placed my hand on his wrist. My hands were shaking too much to tell if he still had a pulse, but his body was still warm. Mr. Takamura, hold on, Mum, call an ambulance. That's what I tried to say, but a hot flash ran through my shoulder. The pain came a moment later. I jumped back and pressed down on my shoulder. Blood flowed between my fingers. Mum? The knife came at me again and I dodged out of the way. In doing so, I tripped and fell over the coffee table. The pen holder and other small objects on the table fell to the floor in a loud crash. I can't anymore. Ariko. Why? Why did it get like this? Why am I... Why? She kept asking, delirious. Her eyes were looking at me, but she wasn't seeing me. Please don't look at me like that. Please see me. Mum? Still sitting on the ground, I looked up at my mother. Her beige skirt stained red, her green cardigan. The blood had drained from her face. Her knife was pointed at my pale face. Why am I? My mother slowly approached me. The knife shook as she pointed at me. Without thinking, I picked up a box cutter that had fallen from the table. Don't come any closer, Mum. Please stop. The box cutter in my hand felt hot. My mother stood firmly in front of me. Her eyes were dry and red despite her tears. I could see her despair. If I'm going to die, I don't care anymore. I just want it to all end. My mother raised the knife. I wasn't scared at that moment. I was just sad. Yes, if I'm going to die, I'll do it myself. My God. Before the knife came down, I stabbed the box cutter into my own stomach. I pushed it into my body with all my strength. Come on, just finish. Before she kills me. Before I see things I shouldn't. My consciousness was fading fast. Good. Now I can't see anything. I can't hear anything. Near the end, I heard my mother scream something, and I thought I saw white arms trying to embrace me. I was in the living room of my house. The blood that had soaked into the floor had dried and changed colour. The passage of time let me know. It really happened. No matter how much I resisted, I couldn't run away. You tried to take your own life, the cat said, smiling from on top of the table. I collapsed to the floor, dropping a knee into the large blood. My mental memories also recalled my physical memories and the pain I felt then. You didn't want to see it. You didn't want to see your mother kill you, said the cat's head almost sympathetically. Yeah, I panted in the sea of blood. I didn't want to see it. But I was the one that did it, so my mother never killed me. I'm not some pathetic child who would let her own mother kill her. Isn't that right? Hey, Cheshire Cat! But I couldn't hear his reply. As if dragged down to the ground, my consciousness was swallowed by the darkness. Jesus! I noticed I was standing on a pathway made of black rocks. I rose into the darkness, twisting and turning as if stretched before me. The world was topsy-turvy, like an optical illusion. The concentration of the sky with red and black has been changing slowly. I couldn't tell if the red sky was clear or cloudy. This strange place governed by red and black. Did I finally die? Couldn't prove it. Dreams, reality, and the wondrous world were a mess. I started walking the twisting road which seemed to invite me. I took a step forward and heard a wet sound. That was when I noticed I was standing in a pool of blood. I wondered where it came from, then realized the blood was pouring from my stomach. I didn't feel any pain though. Slowly I started walking along the twisted path. The trail behind me became a river of blood. I was like a blood lake creating a blood river. Ow, Alice. A voice came from nowhere. Though it was a small voice, I could hear it clearly. It was a cute voice, one I had heard before. That's right, it was Harry from the tailor shop. The hedgehog's voice continued to speak solemnly, as if reciting a poem. You created us, young Alice. After being hit by your mother, you fled to a world of wonders. There was a red fog everywhere, and I couldn't see what was at the end of the path. I continued along the black trail. This world takes away the warp in your heart, so little Alice isn't swallowed up by it. The voice was blunt and somewhat rough. The pathway was a twisted mess. Before I knew it, the world had turned upside down, yet I didn't fall. Gravity must be affected too. But, a sleepy voice murmured, your mother hated Wonderland. Between the red sky and the black darkness, an illusion appeared in midair. A small girl being beaten by her mother. I stopped and stared. Why are you always making up stories? Don't talk about things that don't exist. Little Alice cried and apologized, but she didn't really understand why. I'm sorry. I couldn't look away. No matter how far I ran, this was reality. No matter how much I wanted to deny it, it hounded me until I could no longer flee from the sad truth. The illusion vanished, but the wound in my heart didn't. I heard the Hatter's voice. So little Alice shut us out from her heart. The image of the mother faded away, but my younger self, still crying, remained. A white rabbit appeared before her. Long ears, a blue button-up shirt, and grey slacks. The white rabbit was dressed like my father, whom I loved dearly. I knew him well. The white rabbit crouched down and pet my head, but my little Alice turned away and closed her eyes. He's not there. There's no white rabbit here, because Mum will cry, so something like that can't be here. The sad illusion faded away. I began to walk again. The doors to Wonderland were closed and we were forgotten, the Duke said somewhat condescendingly. But the white rabbit stayed by Alice's side, hidden among people. Hey, Watty, I knew my wish wouldn't be granted, so I wanted to make sure that your wish came true at least. Only the white rabbit remained to absorb the warping of Alice, until that night when he finally became warped himself. Bill's emotionless voice explained, finally arrived at a flat, slightly open space. What does the warped rabbit wish for? The trail came to a stop. I walked up to the edge of the cliff and looked down at the darkness below. I felt like I would get sucked into the darkness. I wondered what awaited me if I fell. Even so, he thought. Suddenly I heard a close voice from behind me. Of you. But when I looked back, there was no sign of the queen. Instead, there stood a red rabbit. The white rabbit was covered in blood. The drops of blood from his elbow and his hand had been plopped to the ground one after the other, but there was no sign of injury. Whose blood is that? He cradled a doll in his arms. When I saw it at the school, the doll was just a torso. When we met in front of the abandoned building, it had both arms. At the entrance to the rose garden, it had both legs. Right now, it had its torso, arms, legs, and even its head. Black hair and a scarlet apron dress. A doll just like me. The rabbit started singing like a comforting baby. Arms, arms, arms. Where could your arms be? If you don't have your arms, you can't pet me. Legs, legs, legs. Where could your legs be? If you don't have your legs, you can't walk with me. Head, head, head. Where could your head be? If you don't have your head, you can't smile at me. Life, life, life. Where could your life be? If you are not alive, the rabbit suddenly lifted its head. Our eyes met for the first time. I was captured by his deep red eyes. It's all right. His voice was kind. I couldn't answer. Tears fell in a place of words. I came to pick you up. Come along now. The red rabbit offered me a hand. As if compelled, I reached for his hand. At that moment, a menacing beast-like roar sounded. The rabbit's figure shook, then disappeared entirely. A sweet murmuring lingered in my ear. All that remains is your life. Alice. Our Alice. Your arms, your legs, your head, your voice, please give them to us. If this reality exists only to hurt you, throw it away. Jesus, we won't let anyone hurt you any longer. I will take you to eternity. Chapter 7. A Dazed Real World. Jesus Christ. This girl needs therapy. A drab white ceiling was the first thing I saw. A strange unfamiliar smell filled the air. I heard the sound of a cart clanking nearby and a woman's far-off voice coming through a loudspeaker. Where am I? I tried to slowly turn my body in the bed, only for a sharp pain to run through my head. The pain brought me back to reality. A hospital? I found myself laying down on the bed, with which a white sheet is set. My bed was placed along the side of the room. I turned my head and saw an old mirror on the wall to my right. Also, an empty vase was set on top of a sideboard to my left. I deduced that this was a hospital room, even though I had never been hospitalized before. I noticed that I was wearing a hospital gown. Thick gauze was wrapped around the injury on my stomach. Someone must have carried me here. Dazed, I looked up at the white ceiling. Someone must have carried me here. Oh, Mum? I thought to myself as I stared at the ceiling. I believed you. I believed that you didn't actually hate me. That you would love me someday, even if you hated me now. But now it will never come true. I accepted that fact as though it didn't concern me at all. You hated me so much that you wanted to kill me. I had denied the truth so much that I tried to kill myself rather than face it. But I'm still here. It's so pathetic. I roused my heavy body awake. My stomach hurt, but the pain felt precious to me. It should hurt more. I got out of the bed, then slowly walked out of the hospital room. I dragged my body until I finally reached the roof. I didn't have a particular reason for being up here. I just wanted to be anywhere but here. I climbed the stairs that were there and opened the door that appeared before me, and then there was the roof. That's all. I was by myself. The sun was setting. A pile of 2 or 3 towels that someone had forgotten rested in the corner. A tall fence had been installed on the edge of the roof, most likely to prevent accidents or maybe even suicides. It was like a bird cage. I grabbed the cold, rough fence and stared at the ground below. Does it hurt to fall to your death? As thoughts of that nature ran through my mind, I heard a voice behind me. Alice? I don't know where he came from, but when I turned around, I saw the Cheshire Cat's head on the ground. He was smiling. He was always smiling. I glanced at him, then went back to looking at the city. All that remains is my life. I repeated the White Rabbit's words. The White Rabbit wants to take you away from this place, Alice, by extracting the life from your vessel of flesh. From this place. I chuckled and looked back at the Cheshire Cat. That's beautiful. Alice, the White Rabbit is... It's my fault that my father died. I interrupted. That's why my mother hated me. I made her suffer just by existing. There was no way she could ever love me. I knew there was no way. The day of the fire, it should have been me who died. But because I survived, something inside me became warped. And from that tragedy, a new tragedy was born. It's like I'm cursed. I exhaled deeply. As if something was being ripped away, it suddenly felt hard to breathe. I whispered quietly. I don't care anymore. If the White Rabbit is coming to kill me, so be it. The Cheshire Cat was silent for a while. Finally, he quietly said what he always said. As you wish, our Alice. When he said that, a bitter feeling rose from the pit of my stomach. Angered, I looked into his face. You always say that, Cheshire Cat. You don't care whether I live or die, do you? The Cheshire Cat didn't reply. He just smiled like he always did. I should have been used to it by now, but it annoyed me to no end. I know that's not true, though. If I'm his creator, then my life or death would have consequences for the Cheshire Cat. I knew that, and yet I still accused him. You knew everything from the start, didn't you? Aren't you satisfied now? You're the one who kept me rushing to do it when you knew what would happen. The complicated feelings that had swelled in me threatened to destroy everything. No, this isn't what I wanted to say. I know that, but I can't stop myself. It's your fault, Cheshire Cat. If you hadn't shown up, I would have gone on with my life without knowing any of this. What I was saying wasn't making any sense anymore. The Cheshire Cat had always been by my side no matter what. He had saved me countless times. Every barbed word I unleashed to the wound, the Cheshire Cat hit me in return. I clenched my fists painfully tight and glared down at the cold roof. I should have just died back then. Then I wouldn't have committed all my sins and I wouldn't be such a miserable disgrace. I can't even die properly. I can't stand it. The cat is always the guide, the Cheshire Cat whispered suddenly. Startled, I raised my head reflexively. Alice's wish is our wish. After Wonderland was sealed, our wishes began to deviate from yours, Alice. But since I am the guide, I was not able to ignore your wish. You usually wished for death, then I must obey. Cheshire Cat always said, as you wish, no matter what. That's right. I couldn't remember the Cheshire Cat ever forcing me to do anything. I always made the decision, and now here we are. That night, when you seemed to finally break down, I was given an order to guide Alice to the truth that continued to elude her. You were ordered? By who? By you, Alice, of course. I would never have known to give you such an order. It wasn't a direct order, Alice, but I sensed I needed to do that, because you wished it so. Wished? Me? When you were on the verge of breaking, you made the life or death decision to face whatever came your way. The Queen and the frogs were opposed to this. They were certain you would be upset if you found out everything. Your risk of breaking was quite high. Oh yeah, the Queen and the frogs each told me to forget about the rabbit. Don't go, they said. You'll be much safer if you stay here, they said. You knew that, Alice, and you still made your decision. Then the sealed door to Wonderland opened once more, and I went to go see you. decided by me to discover such an unredeemable truth. Goosebumps ran down my flesh and I shivered. No way. There's no way. I was just a timid, hopeless coward who kept running away. You knew that was the only way, Alice. You knew how much you would be hurt too. But regardless, you wished to live, Alice. I did? Our Alice, you created us. No matter how much reality hurt you, you were defined in your will to live, and so you created us. We believe that is the reason why we exist. I tried to open my eyes, but tears kept pouring like a dam had burst. I lunged at the cat's head, held him tight and cried. I didn't know what else to say. I wept endlessly, as if it rinsed off the both clean mind and unclean mind. I cried and cried and cried until I couldn't cry anymore. I didn't exactly feel relieved, more like a burden had been lifted. I wondered how many years it had been since I cried this much. Oh no. I sat down with a flop on the roof and thought, does my face look all gross now? From my lap, the Cheshire Cat looked up. It's not much different from how it normally looks. That's a little rude, I said disappointedly, shaking my head. Weird. If you're all things I made up, then this is no different than talking to myself. She made a curious face. You created us, but we are not you. But isn't this sort of like my imagination? Though you are an absolute being to us, Alice, you are not an absolute ruler. For someone I made up, you sure say some heavy things. The Cheshire Cat grinned. It means we all love you, Alice. I felt like he was just saying that to smooth things over. But regardless, it worked. The White Rabbit too? Of course. The White Rabbit was always by your side. I can't remember. My childhood memories had been sealed away with my memories of the fire. And even after remembering them, there was no sign of the White Rabbit anywhere, even though I should know him. Your memories of the White Rabbit were consumed by the White Rabbit himself, along with your warp. The White Rabbit you've been seeing this whole time isn't the real one. It was just remnants of your memories. Then where could the real White Rabbit be? I remembered as I looked over the city, holding the cat's head in my lap. The setting sun had made everything dim. Somewhere under this night sky, the White Rabbit is trying to kill me. I don't know. The White Rabbit hides among people, but he's never far from you, Alice. The Cheshire Cat fell silent. Cheshire Cat? I looked down at the head in my lap. His expression hadn't changed, but strangely enough, he seemed like he was deep in thought. I started to rub the Cheshire Cat's chin with my fingers. Still grinning, he began to purr. He really is a cat. Without thinking, I laughed. After I calmed down, I remembered the pain in my stomach. I lifted my hospital gown and looked at the gauze on my wound. It looked like it had started to bleed again. Even though my face is probably a mess, I should probably get back to the hospital bed. Now that I think about it, who brought me here anyway? After what happened with my mother? Oh yeah, what about Mr. Takamura? Mr. Takamura had been on the ground covered in blood. When I touched him, he was still warm, but I couldn't confirm if he still had a pulse. I wonder what happened. Is he alive? What am I doing? I've been so focused on myself that I completely forgot. I quickly tried to stand up, but then screamed, Ow! Ouch! I tried to endure the pain and stood up and leaned against the fence. It's no use, it hurts too much. At any rate, I should at least try to return to the hospital room. Having decided to head toward the door, then noticed I was still holding the cat's head in my hands. It would be bad to walk around holding this. I looked around and saw towels hanging out to dry. I felt a little bad, but I decided to borrow one of them. I started to wrap the towel around the Cheshire Cat. I can't breathe, Alice. Just enjoy it until we get to the hospital room. I soothed the Cheshire Cat. People will freak out if they see you. Why? Over here, it's common sense that severed heads don't speak. I wouldn't accept any argument from him as I finished wrapping the towel. I inspected my handiwork. Okay, nothing's sticking out. If someone glanced at it, they might think it's just a melon. Hopefully that's all they'll think. Still, somewhat uncertain, I clutched the cat's wrapped head to my chest and headed toward the hospital room. My injury hurt so much that I couldn't walk very fast. I had finally reached the 4th floor when I suddenly stopped dead in my tracks. Oh crap, where was my room again? I trusted my gut to find my way to the roof, but I couldn't remember how to get back. I think I came from that way? I went down the hallway, looking around nervously. Suddenly, the door to the hospital room in front of me opened. A man stepped out. I remember. This is the man who was chasing me near the train station. "What are you doing?" said the man, clearly surprised. Without thinking, I turned around and ran. Pain shot through my stomach. "Hey!" I ran through the hall and grabbed the railing of the staircase leading downstairs. My stomach hurts. The White Rabbit hides among people, but he's never far from you, Alice. I went down the stairs, practically dragging myself. It hurts. Your arms, your legs, your head, your voice. Please give them to me. Large hands caught my arm. All that remains is your life. No! What's going on? A nurse, struck pale by my screaming, ran over. "You can't go running around yet." "But he's..." I said, collapsed on the stairs and pointing at the man holding my arm. How do I explain that he might be the White Rabbit here to kill me? Confused, the nurse looked at me, then at the man. "Did something happen between you and your uncle?" "Uncle? Isn't he your uncle, Rico? Mr. Kohaiwada. He's here to visit you, right?" "So you see, I'm your uncle. Well, technically." He scratched his head apologetically. There was no more discussion, and the nurse put me back in bed. Because I ran, my injury was throbbing with pain. It looked like it had started to bleed again more. This stranger told me to just lay down, but I thought that was rude, so I sat up. Anyway, I felt awkward lying down in front of someone I didn't know. This person who introduced himself as my uncle, I didn't know him. I looked at my alleged uncle. He looked like he was in his early 30s. Dark-skinned, slightly unshaven. I was a little scared. "Why did you chase after me?" "By the train station, and in the abandoned building." Disappointed, my supposed uncle looked at me. "So you were in the abandoned building. Why would you run away?" "Because I was scared, and you were suspicious." Mr. Wada choked. I pulled the towel bundle closer to my chest. "I'm sorry if I have scared you. Well, it's not like I had a choice. If you saw your niece after she escaped from the hospital, you'd chase after her too." "Escaped?" I looked up. "What do you mean, escaped?" Mr. Wada looked at me with surprise. "You don't remember?" "Remember what?" Mr. Wada furrowed his brow a bit, but kept silent. "Are you really my uncle?" My self-proclaimed uncle looked back at me confused. I've never been told that I had an uncle. My mother said that she didn't have any relatives. So who is this person? I took a deep breath and asked as directly as I could. "Are you the White Rabbit?" After a long silence, he replied, "What?" His voice was in hysterics. He stared at me carefully. "I don't really know what that means, but..." He made a somewhat serious face and shook his head. "If you're asking me whether or not I'm a rabbit, I don't think I'm a rabbit." "No." My body sagged. When he responded so seriously, I felt like I was stupid for even asking the question. Well, actually, I'd asked him very serious, so I guess it's good he answered seriously back. The man in front of me looked really confused. I couldn't tell. Perhaps he really wasn't the right rabbit. But that doesn't mean he's my uncle either. "Mr. Wada, you said?" "Kohaiwada. I'm your mum's little brother." Well, my mother's maiden name was Wada, so he's really my uncle? But I never heard that I had an uncle. Huh? Oh, well, yeah, we had lost touch for reasons. What could these reasons be? He was obviously being vague right now. Is it something he can't tell me, or is it a lie, and that's why he can't tell me? What should I believe? I grew quiet as if knowing the reason why Mr. Wada responded. A long time ago, there was a brief period where we lived together, though. Huh? This unexpected information got my attention. Right after Hisal passed away from the fire, my sister stayed with our parents for a while. You came along too, of course. Hisal was my father's name. Right after my dad passed away, so I would have been around about 4 years old. But I couldn't remember it. Actually, I don't remember much from when I was little. My post-fire memories are really hazy. But I can manage to remember some things. The sunset, the cool wind. I smell both fresh flowers and a gloomy like an old shrine. The road I walked with someone's lead, but they were just fragments with no connection to each other. I guess you don't remember well. You were pretty young, but even so, Mr. White's eyes narrowed. You've really grown up. I felt really awkward. This person I didn't know was staring at me so fondly. Of course it felt weird. I didn't know how to respond, so I just kept quiet and looked down. Oh no, I've been meaning to ask you about this. Mr. Water changed his attitude as abruptly as he changed the subject. What is that? He asked, reached out for the towel bundle. What's in... No! His hands shot up as if startled by a violent denial. I was startled too by how loud my voice was. Excuse me, My supposed uncle shrugged a little. I curled the towel bundle even tighter. Hey, Cheshire Cat, can I trust this person? Do you think he's really my uncle? I asked the Cheshire Cat in my heart. An awkward silence followed. At that moment, a knock on the door came to our rescue. Come in. Mr. Water answered. The sliding door opened and a doctor wearing a white lab coat entered. How are you feeling, Miss Katsuragi? The doctor was a heavy-set man. His kind face relieved my tension for a bit. Yes, I feel fine. Your complexion seems healthy. All right, let's take a look at that injury. The doctor changed my bandages. They told me you were running earlier. You can't move until you've recovered. Going outside is off limits too. Please stay rested. Okay. Also, the doctor turned to Mr. Wada, standing off to the side. Mr. Wada, the police. Oh yes, right. He responded, then bent over to look me in the face. Rico, the police are here to ask you some questions. Do you feel up for that? The police? I repeated the words for some reason, then felt a chill run through my mind. Forgot after my so-called uncle showed up. But where's my mum? Where is Mr. Takamori? I felt the blood suddenly drain out of my face. Where's my mother? What happened to Mr. Takamori? The doctor left in a hurry after a nurse summoned him. There might have been a patient whose condition suddenly changed. After I had calmed down, Mr. Water sat on pipe chair, then finally spoke. Mr. Takamura is fine. I felt like a weight had lifted off my shoulders. Thank goodness. My vision blurred. I'm so glad he's alive, for his sake and for my mum too. His condition was definitely critical, though. He's still recovering here. He's in this hospital? Mr. Wada nodded. A neighbour who had come by to drop off a notice was the one who called the police. She said she found you and Mr. Takamura on the floor, but then... Mr. Wada hesitated for a moment. I had a bad feeling about this. Yuri, there was no sign of your mother. No sign? She wasn't there? No, the police are looking for her now. She ran away? Yeah, that might be what happened. Mr. Wada's answer seemed invasive. He couldn't look me in the eye after that. Something was worrying me. What's the truth? Huh? You mustn't lie. The truth will come out eventually. It doesn't matter how many lies you tell, how many people you deceive, reality never changes. I won't live my life looking the other way anymore. Mr. Wada furrowed his eyebrows and made a troubled face. Please tell me. After staring at me for what felt like forever, he let a small sigh of defeat. I want you to stay calm when you hear this, okay? I raised myself and nodded. There was a large amount of blood at the scene that is believed to be your mother's. I gripped Mr. Wada's arm without meaning to. I felt dizzy. I wanted to throw up. Because I killed her? No, I didn't kill her. My mum's face was the last thing I saw before I blacked out. If it wasn't me, then who? Is she dead? The words sounded strangely hoarse as they spilled out. Based on the amount of blood she lost, they say the odds are high. It's just the odds. There's also a chance that she was hurt really bad and ran off somewhere. Okay. Maybe she got scared after stabbing Mr. Takamura and ran away. That was a rational explanation, but I wasn't convinced for some reason. If they find Mum, will she get arrested? I'm not sure. Because Mum is the one who stabbed Mr. Takamura, right? Mr. Wada's face grew pale. Did you see it? I shook my head. But when I ran into the living room, Mr. Takamura was on the floor and Mum was holding a bloody knife. Upon hearing that, Mr. Wada murmured to himself. That would make sense then. Huh? They found my sister's fingerprints on the knife they found at the crime scene. I think she stabbed Mr. Takamura beyond a reasonable doubt, but the key victim isn't talking. Mr. Takamura isn't talking? Why not? I'm not sure. He won't give a reason or anything. I need to go see him. But right as I tried to get up, a searing pain shot through my stomach. Ow! Ouch! See? Look. Mr. Wada leaned against the edges of my comforter. The doctor just told you that you need to rest. But I need to see Mr. Takamura. You can't. But just go see him later. He's injured bad. It's too much to ask of him. Okay. I couldn't argue with that. Reluctantly, I accepted. Also, the doctor said it earlier, but the police said they want to talk to you. Do you think you can do that? If you don't want to yet, you don't have to force yourself. No, I'm okay. I can talk to them. I wanted to hear it from the police too, about my mum and Mr. Takamura, who's remaining silent. I understand, then let's have them come tomorrow. I'll let the doctor know. Mr. Wada said, then he glanced at the clock on the wall. Oh, it's already so late. He stood up. I'm going to go home for now. I'll come again tomorrow. Is there anything you want me to bring? Not really. Mr. Wada nodded, then lifted his shoulder bag to his side. Alright, and see you later. Can I trust this person? Slowly I looked up at my supposed uncle. He knows my mum and dad. His face is a little intense, but when you talk to him, he doesn't seem nearly as scary. He didn't seem really confused when I asked him about the white rabbit. A stranger wouldn't go to so much trouble to look after me like this, right? I'm not some billionaire's daughter or anything. A stranger has nothing to gain by pretending to be my uncle. Perhaps it was rude of me to doubt that he is my uncle. Be a good girl, okay? Don't move around too much. Okay. Mr. Wada opened the sliding door to my hospital room, then turned back. Good night, Alice. Ooh. Did you just say Alice? Why? Why does Mr. Wada know about Alice? Speechless before him, Mr. Wada smirked at me, then walked out the door. The white rabbit hides among people, but he's never far from you, Alice. The solution I thought I had gotten rid of had come back to me once again. Hospital. When I awoke the next morning, the Cheshire Cat was gone. I thought it would be sad to keep him in the sideboard cabin, so I kept him inside my sheets. But now I couldn't see the cat's head anywhere. Oh no, I wonder where he went. Even when I flipped down my sheets, the Cheshire Cat was nowhere to be found. He's not so small that I could easily lose him. Cheshire Cat, where are you? But there was no reply. Did he put himself on top of a shelf? I opened the sideboard. Inside there was a round object wrapped in a towel. I felt relieved. Oh God, he was in here. What happened? Do you like that towel now? I said as I put him on my lap and began unwrapping the towel. A melon? A honeydew melon was wrapped in the towel. Why was the cat a melon? Is this because it would be fitting as a gift to bring someplace like this? I shook my head. This is just a melon. It's not the Cheshire Cat, I think. I gave it a poke and tried to talk it just to be safe, but the melon didn't change into the cat. I wonder if someone bought it for me as a gift, but when did they bring it? Or is it a forgotten item of a former patient? I put the melon on top of the sideboard. At that moment, a card dropped to the floor. It was an oversized playing card, the kind you would use in a magic trick. The back of the card was red, but it had an intricate design that looked like golden vines intertwined. The suit was the Queen of Hearts. Why is this here? As I curiously studied the card, red letters rose to the design surface. There is one more truth that you haven't realized, right before your eyes. A truth that I haven't realized? I tilted my head in confusion. That shouldn't be possible. I remembered the tragedy of that night. There shouldn't be anything else I've forgotten. I pressed the card's corners to my lip and thought to myself, I still can't think of anything. One more truth right before my eyes. Could it mean my so-called uncle? He's pretty suspicious after all. He called me Alice before he left. Why did he call me what the inhabitants of Wonderland call me? But even if this is about him, what could this truth be referring to? The letters faded away, leaving me pondering. I wonder what it was trying to tell me. I smelled a sweet, fragrant scent. It was a nostalgic scent once I had smelled before. Alright, I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Yeah. It was a nostalgic sense once I had felt before, and it smelled like white magnolias. During the cool spring, the street corners would begin to dim. I loved that flower, so that person would always take me to see the flowers whenever I cried. That person? When I opened my eyes, I saw Yukino putting flowers in a vase. They weren't white magnolias, but they were white. They were cute flowers. I don't know what kind. Yukino? Yukino turned around. You're awake. I rubbed my eyes and sat up. I had fallen asleep after lunch. You came. You should have woken me up. You were sleeping so soundly. Yukino laughed and sat on my bed. She was wearing her school uniform. She must have stopped by on her way home from school. You brought flowers. Thank you. They smell good. How was your injury? It's fine. It hurts, but that's about it. I had a stab wound in my stomach, so some pain was to be expected. But wounds always heal. It just takes time. I feel like I haven't seen your face in a long time, Yukino. Yukino giggled. Now that I think about it, I haven't seen her face since I abruptly ditched her at the fast food restaurant. I'm sorry I made you worry. It's just a lot has been happening. Yukino shook her head and held my hand. Don't worry about it. None of it is your fault, Ariko. The warmth from Yukino's hand seeping into my skin. Maybe she's heard some degree of what happened from someone. I was so thankful that she didn't ask about it and that she was just here to support me. Yeah, thank you. So it's your birthday tomorrow? Yukino said, abruptly changing the subject. Huh? Is it really? You say that like it's someone else's birthday. I don't really know what day it is anymore. Time really flew by, huh? I felt like months had passed since that night. I'll bring you a present tomorrow. I hope you're excited about it. The extra special one, right? I remembered our conversation at the restaurant and smiled. Hey, Yukino, has school... At that moment, there was a knock on the door. Oh, who is it? Ariko, it's Takamura. Can I come in? Mr. Takamura? I panicked at my unexpected visitor. After all, I'm the daughter of the woman who stabbed him, who was going to be my stepfather. Mr. Wada told me it's best that I don't see him yet. What should I do? What should I do? I'm not mentally ready for this. How am I supposed to react when I see him? After watching me get flustered, Yukino stood up. Well, I'm going to go home for the day. What? But you came all this way. I grabbed her sleeve instinctively. Yukino laughed and poked my forehead. It's fine. I'm coming again tomorrow anyway. The sliding door opened and there stood Mr. Takamura in his pajamas. Hi, Ariko. How are you feeling? There was no time to say goodbye to Yukino as she slid past Mr. Takamura and walked out the door. Mr. Takamura, how are you doing? I feel much better, he said, but his movements were awkward as he sat down. He didn't look fine at all. I don't know what to say. I'm really sorry. When I bowed my head to him, Mr. Takamura let out a hearty laugh. What are you apologizing for? You haven't done anything, Ariko. But... Mr. Takamura shook his head. There's nothing you need to apologize for, Ariko. You've been through a lot too. I wasn't expecting so much sympathy from him. I bit my lip and hoped I wouldn't start crying. Oh no, I'm pretty sure my tear ducts are broken. Ever since I arrived at the hospital, I've been crying like a baby. Mr. Takamura? Yeah? I'm glad you're still alive. Though he was a victim, he didn't blame me for anything. He just pet my head. And I started to stop resisting the urge. I'm glad. I was actually a bit worried, that maybe I made you dislike me. While I rubbed my eyes, Mr. Takamura placed his hand over his chest in relief. Of course not. If anything, I thought you would hate me. I wouldn't worry about that. Your mum's the one who stabbed me. That's no reason for me to hate you, Ariko. So my mum really did stab you? I asked cautiously. Mr. Takamura smiled quietly, but he had a concerned look on his face. Mr. Takamura, I heard that you haven't spoken to the police. There's no point. What's happened has already happened. I don't want to pin the blame on anyone. But I guess that's not how society works. Huh? Seeing how confused I was, Mr. Takamura grinned again. You don't have to worry about anything. I mean it. Okay. I couldn't ask anything else. It's hard to accept that my mother stabbed Mr. Takamura, but there seemed to be no doubt about it. Okay. What in the world happened that night? Mum, in my heart I called out to her. Where are you right now? Are you hurt? You're okay, right? A knock on the door interrupted my thoughts. I was getting so many visitors today. Come in. The door opened and Mr. Wada stuck his head in. Upon seeing Mr. Takamura, Mr. Wada seemed to furrow his brows for just a moment. I suppose it only makes sense. Just like I was the perpetrator's daughter, he was the perpetrator's brother, after all. Not exactly an occasion for a cheery greetings. Hello there, how are you feeling? Mr. Takamura lowered his head a bit and answered. After seeing Ariku's healthy face, I finally feel some relief. Is that so? Mr. Wada turned to address me. Ariko, are you feeling refreshed? They said the police are going to come in now. Oh, yes. That's right, the police were going to question me. Well, I'll be going now. Mr. Takamura stood up slowly, still weak from his wounds. If it's too hard, I can take you back in a wheelchair. Oh no, it's fine. If I don't move my body, little, I can't sleep at night. See you later, Ariko. Okay, feel better? You too. I laughed Mr. Takamura as he slowly left the room. Why was he here? Mr. Wada asked me, his face turned toward the door Mr. Takamura just left from. Huh? To visit me, I think. It was weird that someone whose condition was worse than mine would come visit me. Is that so? What? I was starting to wonder about him with a brooding face, but a knock on the door put an end to that. What if Mr. Takamura is the White Rabbit? It was my first time meeting detectives. One was a middle-aged man with a rather square face, and the other was a young woman with bright eyes. The woman detective asked most of the questions. They were probably being cautious because I was a girl and underage. I was as honest with them as I could be. It took a lot of courage to confess why I stabbed myself, but I managed to tell them without getting emotional. While talking to the detectives, a lot of details came to light. Apparently, after I stabbed myself, I was rushed to hospital while I was unconscious. After that, I fell into a coma for an unexplained reason, and apparently had suddenly disappeared even though my wounds weren't healed. Naturally, that put the hospital in a huge panic. My memory following the night of the tragedy ended where my first encounter with the Cheshire Cat at the school began. I don't know if I had left the hospital on my own or anything. Perhaps the Cheshire Cat had let me out, but I didn't know how to explain that. In the end, I just kept saying that I didn't remember, which was technically true. I wanted to avoid getting caught in a lie. The detectives didn't seem very satisfied by my answer, but they didn't press it any further. They probably didn't strongly suspect that my mother was the perpetrator. At least, that's what I thought. It's actually very helpful that you're talking to us at least, said the older male detective as they were preparing to leave. Now, if only the victim would talk to us, then we could understand the situation better. Excuse me, why is Mr. Takamura keeping silent? I don't know, he probably doesn't think talking will benefit him. Oh, but he was worried about you. Oh, I just saw him. Is that so? It would be nice if he felt recovered enough to give us a statement. Well, thank you again. The detective said and placed a hand on the door, but then he said, oh, and turned around. There was one more thing I forgot to ask. Does your family own a pet rabbit? Rabbit? Felt like I had just been punched in the face. Seems a rabbit hair was found at the crime scene, but there's no other evidence of a rabbit being there. No, you don't have a rabbit. Is that so? Well, thank you very much. We may come back again to ask you more questions, so until then, get well soon, said the woman detective, and they both left. The White Rabbit was there? Now I remember, just before I fell, I saw a white arm. What could this mean? I pressed my temples and clutched my head. My head hurts. I felt the throbbing pain as an alarm is telling me to realize the truth I have failed to notice is right in front of me. Hey, are you okay? Hey. Oh my god, it was slapped away there. Then Mr. Wada reached out to me. What should I believe? There's too many things I don't understand that I can't see the truth. I'm just swelling with confusion. Perhaps I was more tired than I thought. I knew I wasn't being rational, but my mind wasn't working very well. Where do you get off being so nice to me? Whoa, I asked rather rudely. But I didn't care about that right now. I didn't care what he thought of me. My head was spinning. I'm not sure why you're being so mistrustful, said Mr. Wada, perplexed. We're family, so it's only right of me. You were never there. That's not what family does. Idiot. This person went out of his way to take care of me when I had no other family besides my mother. I should be thankful. My head hurts. I didn't know your whereabouts and I had no way to contact you. My sister left without saying a word. Why did my mum leave without telling anyone? It wouldn't have been too much trouble to voice the doubt floating in my mind, so I stayed quiet. After you guys left, said Mr. Wada, then he suddenly went quiet. What? After I asked, he took a short breath and shook his head. No, it's nothing. You must be tired from talking so much. Mr. Wada said goodnight and quietly left the hospital room. Reeling from a terrible combination of doubt, guilt, and fatigue, I sank into the bed. The long, long night ended, and my birthday finally came. Hospital day 3. The weather was terrible. Dark grey clouds hung heavy in the sky. Though it was the afternoon, it was dim outside and looked like it might rain at any moment. There didn't seem to be any wind though. The row of trees I could see out my window weren't moving at all. I finished my lunch and lay still on top of my bed. The aroma from the flowers Yukina brought tickled my nose. My mother, who lost a massive amount of blood, the rabbit fur found at the scene, the stranger uncle who called me Alice, the Cheshire cat who disappeared. Since last night, these thoughts had been racing around in my mind, but there was no answer. The more I thought about it, the more invested I became. I'm so sleepy. It's probably because of my meds and how little sleep I got last night. My frustration was slowly being overtaken by the Sandman's influence. Oh no, I can't stop it. This is no time to nod off, but I think sleeping we might be able to help her uncover the truth. I surrounded myself to sleep. I thought I heard my name being called and woke up to see Mr. Wada had suddenly shown up. If you sleep too much, you won't be able to fall asleep tonight. Mr. Wada looked at me as I sleepily awoke and smiled. I still wasn't fully awake yet and just blankly stared at Mr. Wada's chin stubble. Well, I guess it's better than you running around and opening your wound again, said Mr. Wada, and then he smiled dryly. Though I said terrible things to him last night, he didn't seem angry about it. Because of that, I started to feel even guiltier. I won't run around or anything. I turned over in bed and pressed my face into the pillow. How are you feeling? Fine. Then get up. Your teacher has come to see you. My teacher? I got up slowly. Come in, Mr. Wada said, and the door opened. A tan, muscular, middle-aged man walked in. It was Mr. Yoshioka, my homeroom and PE teacher. My uncle offered him a chair and he sat down. How are you feeling? Oh yes, I'm feeling much better. I smoothed down my hair and gave a soft smile. I'm sorry. It looks like I woke you. It's okay. There was a knock on the door that had just closed. Riko, may I come in for a moment? I said yes, and a familiar nurse poked her head in. Her eyes turned around toward Mr. Wada. Oh, Mr. Wada, you're here. Good. Could I bother you for a moment? The doctor would like a word with you. Mr. Wada turned to Mr. Yoshioka and said, Excuse me, bowing his head slightly before he left the room with the nurse. There was a small silence between the two of us who remained in the room. My teacher struggled to find his words. You've been through quite a lot. Everyone in your class wanted to visit you. But considering the situation and everything that happened, so they did not to, it was a meandering, pointless conversation. I'm a witness to a criminal investigation and the prime suspect's daughter to boot. It's hard to imagine a more difficult situation than this. Though Japan has gotten pretty dangerous, it's still not exactly common for one of your students to be involved in a criminal investigation. Being a teacher these days must be tough. I sympathized as if I were removed from the situation. That's alright, and Yukino came to visit me. Yukino? Mr. Yoshioka looked confused. Is she your friend? Now was my turn to be confused. It was Yukino from our class. My teacher's face became even more confused. Do you mean Yukino Maeda? No, not Yukiko. What's her last name? Come again? She's Yukino? Come again? Yukino's last name. Oh! My ears started to ring. I don't know. I don't know Yukino's last name. Why don't I know? I should know this. We've been together practically forever. Since we... Elementary school? No. Was it preschool? Wait, was it before that? I gripped my sheet so hard my fingers turned white. No. The doctor said that my memories might be all jumbled because of the trauma. That's all this is. But my hopes were quickly dashed by Mr. Yoshioka. You do know that there's no one named Yukino in our class, right? Is Yukino the rhyme rabbit? No way. That's a lie. Because Yukino is... I almost grabbed onto Mr. Yoshioka. Because Yukino is... My mum was racing so much it hurt. Yukino is... The teacher backed away, clearly disturbed. The world shook. Yukino. I'm going to get your uncle. Mr. Yoshioka quickly left the hospital room. Something is falling apart. Yukino, my friend in the same class. I felt like we were always together. Where did she sit? What's her address? Her phone number? I didn't have the answers, not a single one. Her last name I couldn't remember. A classmate of mine that even my teacher didn't know. The missing answer was bringing forgotten truths to the surface. The white rabbit hides among people, but he's never far from you, Alice. My hands felt cold as ice. Seeking some means of help, I looked out the window. On the promenade below, I saw a familiar girl wearing a school uniform. I leapt out of bed and ran to the window. There stood Yukino, holding in her hands a big pink bag with a ribbon on it. Frozen still, all I could do was stare at her. Who is that? Yukino disappeared under the awning. She's coming here. All that remains is your life. Panic stirred me to action. I didn't have time to worry about the pain in my stomach. I retreated from the window and ran out of the hospital room. Bam! The sliding door usually never made a sound, but this one time it made a loud sound as it shut. The final chapter, the end of the mad party. As I ran out, something seemed not quite right to me. I stopped moving. The hospital had become quiet once more. It can't be. I ran into a nearby hospital room. The covers on all beds were disheveled. There was a full teacup on the sideboard. The curtain was only half closed. The scenery hadn't changed. However, the only people were gone. The silence was so oppressive that my breathing quieted on its own. But within the silence, I heard a faint sound that kept reverberating. Clack, clack, clack. It was a sound of footsteps. The sound was definitely getting closer. It was almost upon me. We can hide? I hid myself in the nearby hot water supply room. The footsteps drew closer. I heard a knock on the door of a hospital room, followed by the door sliding open. I peeked out of the hot water supply room and saw the back of a familiar girl. Eriko, are you here? I heard Yukino calling for me. Geez, where could she have gone? I even brought her present too. She was her usual self. There was nothing strange about her at all. In fact, she seemed confused by the situation. If Yukino was the right rabbit, she wouldn't be confused by what was going on, would she? I hesitated. Don't trust. I can't do it. I said something to myself. I had lost the will to come out. I can't do it. I just can't do it. Because I don't know who Yukino is. I don't know why she's so calm in a world where everyone else has disappeared. There's too much proof for me to continue fooling myself. Yukino walked by the hospital room and headed toward the stairs. After confirming she is gone, I quietly left the hot water supply room and walked into the opposite direction toward the elevator. My stomach hurt. A fresh wound twinged with every step. I feel badly. Maybe I am bleeding again. Clammy, sweaty stream down my forehead. Someone help me. I practically dragged my body in desperation to reach the elevator. I pressed the down button hard. The elevator stirred to life and the number I lit up. Finally, the number 2 flashed. Good, the elevator should arrive soon. I leaned against the wall next to the elevator and closed my eyes. I thought I heard a firm buzzing in my ears. Even I am keeping still, the pain grew more intense. Help me, somebody. Cheshire Cat, where are you? I heard a ding. The elevator had arrived. I somehow forced my heavy body to stand up straight. The elevator door made a light sound as it opened. I froze in place, unable to enter the elevator. There was no one inside, but there was a doll sitting there. A perfectly intact doll wearing a scarlet apron dress. I sensed someone behind me. I came back for you. There was no way for me to look back. I didn't even understand what was happening. The last thing I understood was only that I had suffered a sharp, powerful blow to my back. Mizu, can you also take care of this on your way out? Oh, sure thing. Mizu walked out of the back exit of the hospital carrying 2 trash bags that were stuffed to the brim. She worked for a company that was responsible for providing custodial services to the hospital. On this day, she was performing her usual cleaning duties and taking the accumulated trash to the dumpster. Phew, there's a lot of trash today. It was shortly before the trash collectors would arrive, so the dumpster was filled with a mountain of trash bags. Mizu, being short, had to pretty much hurl the trash bags or else she wouldn't be able to add them to the pile. As she was about to throw the trash bags like she always did, Mizu stopped in her tracks. A cat was clawing at the mountain of trash bags. Its coat was grey and slightly dirty. Hey, you shouldn't do that. There's nothing for you to eat in there. Mizu assumed the cat was looking for leftovers and tried to shoo it away, but then she realized the cat was tugging at something in its mouth. The cat seemed to be struggling to pull something out of the pile of trash bags. It wasn't leftover food, though. It was a scrap of red fabric. Okay, I'll help. Scoot over. I'll get it out for you. While keeping a stern face, Mizu generally liked the cat. The grey cat looked at Mizu, the fabric still in its mouth. It was an abnormally large cat. Eventually, the cat slowly backed away. It seemed a tad disoriented. Perhaps it was weak from hunger. Maybe I'll buy it some milk for later, Mizu thought as she tugged at whatever was buried within the trash bags. It was a doll. It was about 2 feet tall and wore a red apron dress. Black hair growing over the waist was very shiny that it doesn't look artificial. Oh no, what a waste. The doll didn't seem to be damaged anywhere. It looked even brand new. I probably would have taken the doll home, but it was a little creepy. When I was staring at the doll, the cat meowed and rubbed against Mizu's feet. Do you want this? It might be better for you to look for something to eat instead of this. Mizu tried not to step on the cat, but it wrapped itself about her feet. She accidentally kicked it. Oh no, I'm sorry. The cat's head rolled off its body. Mizu threw the doll, ran back to the hospital as fast as she could. If she had remained calm, there's no doubt that she would have seen that no blood was pouring from the cat's neck. The cat's body slumped lifelessly to its side. Its head dragged its way over to the doll. Finally, the head reached its target. Weakly, the cat licked the doll's cheek and stayed by its side. It quietly closed its eyes. End. Human doll. Ooh, so that's one of the endings. So if we get another ending if we don't hide? Oh no, hide and then maybe trust. Oh. So, run away? Eventually, I ran from the sound. Sharp pain suddenly ran through my stomach. Oh yeah, I'm injured. I clutched my stomach carefully as I ran. Is anyone there? I started looking for people even though I knew it was pointless. Even the nurses' station where busy nurses would bustle about was now quiet. I ran to the stairs at the edge of the ward. Footsteps were approaching me from behind. That faint sound was definitely pursuing me. My stomach hurts. I clung to the railing as I went down the stairs. This was the 4th floor. Normally the distance wouldn't matter, but in my injured state the ground floor felt very far away. I just need to get out of here. But then what do I do after that? Even if I didn't know the answer to that question, somehow I managed to get down the stairs. A pain that flared with each step I took had taken a turn for the chronic, but I couldn't worry about that. I ran to the front entrance through the dark lobby. The thick glass of the automatic doors wouldn't budge. I tried to force them open with my hands, but pain shot through my stomach as the door refused to open. I crouched where I stood and tried to endure the pain. Tears and clammy sweat flowed. If I remember right, there was a nighttime entrance on the other side, past the elevators. I stood up and wobbled away from the front entrance. I couldn't run anymore. My spirit was willing to press on, but my flesh was too weak. Dragging myself, I headed toward the west entrance. As I reached the elevators, I came to a stop. The elevator made a sound. When I looked up, the numbers were lit up. The light travelled from 4 to 3, then 3 to 2. Someone's coming here. I was unable to run in my current state, and I could not reach the west entrance. If the west entrance was closed, it would be a dead end. I couldn't escape. 2 to 1. I immediately ran to the staircase that it led down to the basement. A terrible pain flared through my stomach. I nearly slipped and fell as I ran down the stairs. Behind me, I heard the sound of the elevator doors opening. I had never been to the basement prior to now. Normally, this floor would be off limits to anyone other than hospital staff. I pulled every door I laid my eyes on, but none of them opened, and of course, there were no people. Perhaps it was because this place was off limits to patients. Unlike the upper floors, the basement was dim and uninviting. The pain in my stomach was starting to become more than I could bear. I leaned against the wall for support and kept moving forward. I heard moans, and then I realized they were coming from me. I just wanted to fall where I stood and be released from my pain. As that thought zipped through my mind, a doorknob I grabbed in desperation, turned easily. Since I was leaning against the door, I literally rolled into the room. That's the morgue! The severe pain left me curled on the floor, unable to move for a while. Groaning, my cheek felt cold against the ground. Tile? Still hazy from the pain, I raised my head and saw a silver stand and a row of long white boots, and a round light dangling from the ceiling. It looks like a laboratory. Alright, maybe it's an autopsy room? At that moment, I heard a voice from behind me. I found you. I turned around and saw Yukino standing at the entrance. She was wearing her school uniform and clutching a big bag to her chest. How naughty of you to be up and about like this, laughed Yukino as she slowly stepped into the room. Yukino. She was smiling her usual smile. It made me shudder even more. Look, I brought your birthday present. It's extra special. I'll be so happy if you like it, she said, reaching into the bag to take out what was inside. It's a doll? Hey, do you like it? Yukino asked, still smiling as she offered it to me. My eyes were fixed as I couldn't even make a sound, to the woman's head. Her eyes were cloudy and white. All the blood had drained from her face, a vacant expression I had never seen. But even so, I knew that face. I had seen that face every day for 16 years. She killed her mom. Happy birthday. My mind went numb. I couldn't decide if I should be mad, be scared, or just cry. I just stared at my mother's head, unable to say a single word. Aren't you happy? Hey. Yukino's face seemed paler than usual. Actually pale. Isn't quite accurate. Her skin was pure white, and her eyes had turned red. Blood spatters appeared all over her clothes. You're the White Rabbit. But it's such an extra special present. Hey, Alice? Her voice began to change. Slowly went from a high-pitched girl's voice to a deep voice. Yukino. I called out her name, hoping it would stop her transformation. You were my best friend. Just then, Yukina's face warped. Her face shifted and warped until it was an odd mix of Yukino's and a white rabbit's. Alice. The white rabbit threw my mother's head across the round. Alice. Alice. A knife suddenly appeared in the white rabbit's previously empty hand. A black substance coated the blade. Birthday surprise, if this world will only hurt you. The white rabbit's warped face looked off into the distance. He couldn't even see me anymore. He was seeking Alice purely on instinct. Erase them all, the bad things. Alice, give me your voice. Still sitting, I dragged myself away until my back hit the silver disinfection table, which fell to the ground with a crash. Startled, the white rabbit's warping stopped. I slowly returned to Yukina's face and stabilized there, but her eyes stayed round and red like the white rabbit's. Cracking her neck, the red-eyed girl whispered, "We need to hurry. We need to take Alice and go." His neck creaked as he moved it awkwardly until he finally noticed me. He moved toward me, walking with an unsteady gait like a broken doll. "Come here, Alice. Our Alice." He extended a hand toward the sky as if searching for something, like a child. I looked away. "No, I don't want to. I won't go." "Listen, White Rabbit, I tried to assert myself, but an emotionless voice cut me off. "If this world exists only to hurt you, throw it away." "This world exists only to hurt me." My voice was raspy. That's not true. That's not true at all. But the words wouldn't come out because I looked at my mother's head on the floor. "Mum, was I such a terrible child? You didn't have to love me. If you had just let me think you didn't hate me, I would have been okay with that. But you didn't grant that wish, and now you're dead in front of me. My wish will never be granted now. What if people are God's creation? Do you think that people deemed worthless by God still have some value? What about a child born to a mother who wished she was dead? Mum, answer me." "Come." The white rabbit offered me its white hand. Perhaps I'll be rid of this pain if I take his hand. Maybe I'll be rid of everything. But I clenched my fists tightly. People can endure any reality and continue living. It's not like my pain is more severe than anyone else's. I won't go. I've decided to keep living here. My voice wouldn't come out right. Perhaps I was dizzy from blood loss. The world felt far away. Please, understand. The white-faced girl, her expression blank, tilted her head in confusion. Alice. Alice. The girl, the white rabbit, took a step towards me. Don't come any closer. Please. Let's go together. The white rabbit's face warped. Then, as if in slow motion, the white rabbit raised his knife. Oh no, I can't escape. There's no strength left in my body. I resigned myself to my fate and closed my eyes. And something soft covered me. Cheshire Cat? It was Cheshire Cat's body, which had escaped the Queen's castle. The cat wrapped his nimble body around me to protect me. A knife banged down on my thigh. The white rabbit was stabbed into his back. Blood trickled out. Despite that, the cat didn't even attempt to move. Swinging his arm mechanically, the white rabbit continued to stab the Cheshire Cat's back. Stop, White Rabbit, stop! But my cries were in vain, and the cat's blood flowed thicker with every stab of the knife. Gradually, the Cheshire Cat's body lost its strength until it slumped over my knees. The body face of the white rabbit began to shift and warp even more. It no longer resembled a human or rabbit face. His warp is my warp. I made the white rabbit carry it for me. I started to cry. Not from fear or regret, but because I was disgusted by my idiocy. It's my fault for warping the white rabbit to such a vile extremes. The white rabbit struggled to remove the knife that was embedded deep in the Cheshire Cat's flesh. With a confused look, the rabbit gave up on the knife. Instead, he extended a white arm toward me. I couldn't bring myself to shake him off, because this wasn't the white rabbit's fault at all. All he had been trying to do was protect me. He wrapped both hands around my neck. Slowly, he began to squeeze tighter and tighter. If this is how it all ends, it will satisfy the white rabbit, and perhaps it's okay. The cat's lifeless body lay in a heap across my knees. If I was stronger, would I have been able to protect you? I'm sorry. I wish I was able to tell you that I'm sorry, or say thank you. With my airflow cut off and my lungs close to bursting, I reached out and stroked the Cheshire Cat's back. My fingers grazed the handle of the knife, and that was Ocean's back. The ringing in my ears gradually became louder, and my vision was turning red. And then, Ariko! I heard a voice in my ear. It was... Ah! Cheshire? It was a voice that, for some reason, sounded like it was on the verge of tears. The voice made me sad. Am I making you sad? Please don't cry like that. I wonder how I had that much strength left. Before the thought I could register in my mind, my hands moved. I pulled the knife from Cheshire Cat's back. Strangely enough, it came out effortlessly. I'm sorry, I muttered silently and closed my eyes. Then I took that knife and stabbed the white rabbit's chest. The white rabbit's body took the blade almost alarmingly easily. I'm sorry. Again, I apologized in my mind, but no more. I don't want to make anyone cry anymore. Sorry. I'm sorry, White Rabbit. I kept closing my eyes. I shivered, holding the handle of the knife. Tears well up from firmly closed eyelids. If I created all this, then why is this the only way it can end? Why wasn't I able to save you? I felt a small weight on my shoulder and looked up. I saw the White Rabbit's face. 2 long ears, a face covered in white fluffy fur, round red eyes. It wasn't Yukino's face or a warped face, but the White Rabbit's normal face. I felt terribly nostalgic. Don't cry. It's not your fault at all, Alice, said the White Rabbit as he pet my head. Yes, you would always say that to me. Whenever I cried after my mother would hit me, you would always say that and cheer me up. I finally remember. I can't go. I can't go with you. There's no way I could go. Because you protected me. That's why I'm here. The rabbit tilted his head at me in wonder. Sorry, I'm sorry. Don't cry, Alice. See, you're a good girl. The White Rabbit pet me on the head again like he did when I was young. This will probably be the last time he ever pets my head. I mustered the strength to smile at him. If I cry, the rat will worry about me. I'm sorry I worried you all this time. In these final moments, be at peace. I sank the knife deeper. White Rabbit, I'll be okay, I said, and the White Rabbit narrowed his eyes and smiled in relief. This pain, this feeling of a knife piercing flesh, I will remember it. The whiteness of your hand, your red eyes, your soft voice, and the suffocating smell of blood. I'll remember it all from now on. So even if you disappear, my memory of you never will. The White Rabbit and the Cheshire Cat's body started to crumble, then shattered to pieces as if they were made of glass. The world shined white. Light flooded over me and I didn't even blink. White, a colour that blanket everything and rinse away. White, a colour that wrap me, protect me, and be with me. It was a colour of White Rabbit. The world is full of white, and it's burned into my sight with a slight pain. But it began to recede gradually, and my vision slowly returned to me, leaving me the sense of loss I cannot wipe out. I was in the dim, wet autopsy room. My mother's head was on the floor. There was nothing else except for me sitting on the ground. I could hear someone's voice in the hallway. I need to go back to my bed. I was told not to wander around. I'll get in trouble. I tried to stand up, but I lost my balance, and then I lost consciousness too. After that day, I never saw the inhabitants of Wonderland ever again. I'm going now, my voice echoed through the empty house. No one was here to wish me off. Though it wasn't the agreed upon time yet, I picked up my luggage and left the house. I put the shoulder bag I used for vacations at my feet and sat down on the steps of the front porch. It was strangely quiet outside. All I could hear was the sound of birds chirping. Perhaps that's because it was a weekday afternoon. When it gets too quiet, I start to think about various things, like my mum and the White Rabbit and the Cheshire Cat. I wonder if Wonderland is still close to me. Cheshire Cat rested my forehead on my knees. His body was destroyed, but I wondered if his head was still okay. He seemed to have suddenly disappeared. Since Alice caught the White Rabbit, his duty as the guide must be over. Maybe he didn't need me anymore. Yeah. Startled, I looked up. There was a calico cat on the border between the house and the road. Oh, it's just a cat, an ordinary one. My disappointment seemed funny for some reason, so I laughed a little. I stood up and approached the cat. The cat meowed once, but it didn't look like it was going to run away. I crouched down and rubbed its throat and it closed its eyes and purred. What gives? I poked the calico's nose and spoke to the other cat, the one who wasn't there. You could at least say goodbye to me, you cold-hearted jerk. Alice, that doesn't look very tasty. Startled by the voice behind me, the calico cat ran away. Can't be. I turned around. Resting on top of my shoulder bag, there was the Cheshire Cat's head I knew so well. My jaw dropped. He still had his trademark smile, and of course his grey hood hadn't shifted at all. Cheshire Cat? Why? Cats that walk on all fours don't taste very good. If you're going to eat a cat, eat me instead. Not about that. Are you real? I'm the only cat that walks on two legs. His grinning face was so comforting that I nearly started to cry, but also mad, so I said something rude on purpose. But you don't even have legs anymore. As if he just noticed, the cat's still grinning head fell silent. For once he was speechless. I laughed and picked up his head. It felt real. It was an illusion. I'm just kidding. I know you're the real thing. I wouldn't mistake anyone for you, Cheshire Cat. My hands felt warm holding the Cheshire Cat. I felt tension suddenly escape my body. A strange sensation of relief and numbness wrapped around me. Without thinking, I let him go. The cat's head landed on my shoulder bag with a puff. What's wrong, Alice? Asked the cat from the bag where his face poked onto. Just now, did you do something? The cat just smiled. There had been many times when I would feel calm just by touching the Cheshire Cat. I had thought that the Cheshire Cat had just become attached to me, but that wasn't it. The Cheshire Cat was taking away my warp, just like the White Rabbit. My ears recalled a sound, the beautiful but sad sound of the White Rabbit. A chill ran down my spine. Stop, you mustn't do that. But Alice, please. I quickly interrupted the Cheshire Cat. I don't want to see you shattered to pieces. I really don't want to see that. Please, I repeated, and the Cheshire Cat remained silent. But Alice, if that's the case, there's no reason for me to exist. For a moment I just gave him a blank look, then smiled. That's not true, because... I picked up the cat's head again. I hugged him and smelled that familiar gammy aroma again. Your existence is proof of my desire to live, isn't it? I peeked at the Cheshire Cat's face and saw he was grinning. From now on, no matter what happens, as long as I never give up on life, that's all I need to overcome anything. Because I know it's so. I am Alice. Everyone's Alice. If you all say that, my happiness, then I feel like I can be so happy. Suddenly, I felt tears flowing down my cheeks. Why are you crying, Alice? I can't really put it into words. Cheshire Cat nodded as though he understood. You're hungry, aren't you? No, that's not it. Why would that be the reason? What a waste of an emotional moment. As usual, the Cheshire Cat doesn't listen to what anyone else says. If you're hungry, eat me. I'm not going to eat you. Cat meat is quite delicious. I said I'm not going to eat you. Besides, you're mostly skull and very little meat. Oh, I remember the cat's body and how it protected me from the White Rabbit. That's right, your body. It came to save me. The cat nodded. It was difficult since I couldn't really communicate. That body of mine should have its own ears and mouth, It was a strange suggestion, even from the Cheshire Cat. Do you summon him? If he hadn't left me behind, it would have been perfect, but unfortunately my body is too hasty, complained the Cheshire Cat. I hugged the Cheshire Cat's head tightly again. With complete emotional sincerity, I whispered, Thank you, Cheshire Cat. The cat purred. I glanced up at my house. The house my family and I had lived in for as long as I could remember. No one lived there anymore. I was going to take the Cheshire Cat and leave for a new home and family. I was pretty happy right there. Strangely, all I could remember were the pleasant memories, even though all the painful and sad memories left me with deep scars. I'll probably be happier from now on, right? My cat grinned at me and said what he always says. As you wish, oh Alice. Oh! This might be the canonical ending. That was really good. Some of the translations were a bit rough, but it was still really, really good. I still really enjoyed that. Aww, that's really sweet. Thank you for playing. See you in other games. Oh, I wonder what other games they've made. Oh wait, that's... Wow. So there's like different endings. That was really good. I don't know if you all, if you want me to get all the endings. That's something I could always do. But for now, I'm gonna end it here because my throat is almost gone. But thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all tomorrow.